Chapter 951 Lu Chen and Number 039, S Concerns. After listening to Wu Peng's words, Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor thought that it seemed that the actions of the Skyfire clan had angered the saints who were not from the Skyfire clan. As a result, no saints who were not from the Skyfire clan were willing to become worshippers of the Skyfire royal family. This caused the strength of the Skyfire clan to decline and felt that it was a crisis, so I chose to take the initiative to be loyal to him. Choosing allegiance at a critical moment of life and death made the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan feel a little unhappy, but he didn't care very much. For him, the Tianhuo clan was not particularly important. What he wanted most was Mu Qinglan. With the Skyfire clan as hostages, Mu Qinglan would have to marry even if he didn't want to. He didn't believe that Mu Qinglan, the ancestor of the Skyfire royal family, would be willing to abandon the entire Skyfire clan and run away alone. As for the Heavenly Emperor that the Tianhuo clan believed in, Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor never took it seriously. What kind of bullshit Heavenly Emperor? Not long after the Tianhuo clan came to the Huangshan Star territory, he came to the Huangshan Star territory, and he had never seen the Heavenly Emperor that the Tianhuo clan believed in. It was a non-existent character. How could a non-existent character scare him? Of course, these don't matter now, the most important thing is to quickly find the treasures in the Emperor's tomb. Thinking of this, the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan said to Wu Peng, "Summon all the forces in the Huangshan Star region immediately." Although the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan also wants to monopolize the treasures in the Emperor's tomb, as the master of the entire Huangshan Star territory, if he does not leave any benefits to those forces, sooner or later he will arouse the dissatisfaction of those forces. And with his status as Kuei-Sai Emperor, even if he summons various forces to explore the Emperor's tomb together, the treasures obtained by those forces from the Emperor's tomb will still be handed over. The most important thing is that the powerful people who can set up restrictions to block a star field are at least powerful emperors. If it is another great emperor who was buried by the great emperor himself, then there must be a lot of restrictions and traps in the tomb of the great emperor. Even the emperor would be wary of the restrictions and traps left by the emperor, not to mention the Kuei-Sai Emperor. If the emperor was an array master during his lifetime, the emperor's tomb would be even more dangerous. Gather all the forces, and let those forces take the lead when the time comes. After they go in and break most of the restrictions and formations, he can then go in to explore. This way, the risk will be much less. Wu Peng said, "This junior understands, this junior will summon all the masters of forces in the Huangshan Star region to come here." After the words fell, Wu Peng turned around and left the hall, and then asked people to notify the leaders of the various forces to come to the Dragon Control Sect. Soon all the forces in the Huangshan Star territory heard the news of the Emperor Huangshan's departure. The leaders of the major forces quickly rushed to the Yulong sect, and even Mu Zhengqing came to the Yulong sect. After all, the Tianhuo dynasty has already pretended to be loyal to the Kuei-Sai Emperor of Huangshan. If the Kuei-Sai Emperor of Huangshan cannot be summoned, this would be unreasonable. When Mu Zhengqing went to Yulong sect, he also had someone send this information to Lu Chen. After Lu Chen learned that the Kuei-Sai Emperor of Huangshan had come out of seclusion, he was very happy. In this way, he would not it is time to find the hiding place of Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor. But having said that, the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan should have a clone. If there is a clone, even if he kills the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan, he will not die. When the time comes, this guy's clone will escape, and it may bring a stronger existence with him. Come to Huangshan Star territory. Thinking of this, Lu Chen frowned slightly. This is indeed a nuisance. On the soft couch, seeing Lu Chen frowning with the information that Bai Qingqing had just sent into the room, Mu Qinglan, who was completely naked, asked in confusion, "Your Majesty, has the Yulong sect taken any action?" Lu Chen came back to his senses and used a trace of fire attribute spiritual power to burn the information in his hand into ashes. Then he turned to look at Mu Qinglan and said, the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan has come out of seclusion. He has summoned all the people in the Huangshan star region. All forces. Hearing this, Mu Qinglan didn't feel very surprised. Although Emperor Cheng was very important to the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan, the Emperor's tomb was even more important to the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan, and there might be something inside the Emperor's tomb. It can also help the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan break through faster. It is impossible for the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan not to be moved. However, what puzzles Mu Qinglan is that the Emperor of Heaven wants to solve all the troubles at once. The Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan has been released from seclusion, which is a good thing for the Emperor of Heaven. Why is the Emperor of Heaven still looking sad? Mu Qinglan asked, Your Majesty, since the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan has been released, Your Majesty can solve the problem at once and bring the Huangshan star territory under the rule of the Great Xia Dynasty. Why does Your Majesty look a little unhappy? Lu Chen did not answer immediately. He lay on Mu Qinglan's body again, lowered his body, and then gently played with the hair on her forehead. He looked at her cold face and said, I'm worried that his clone will escape when the time comes, causing more trouble. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Qinglan instantly understood Lu Chen's concerns, so she said, Your Majesty, monks must fuse all their secondary bodies before becoming an emperor, otherwise the difficulty will be greatly increased. The Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan is already preparing to become an emperor. He should have integrated all his secondary bodies at this time. Although the secondary body can also become an emperor alone, not everyone can do this. The number of monks in the entire universe who can separate the main body and the clone and become an emperor can be counted on one hand. Basically, all monks will fuse the secondary body before attaining enlightenment and becoming an emperor. In this way, some of the insights of the secondary body will be integrated with the consciousness of the main body, and the possibility of attaining enlightenment and becoming an emperor will be greater. After the Emperor Huangshan obtained a method to become an emperor, he has been in seclusion and has made all the preparations for becoming an emperor. It is impossible that he has not yet merged with his second body. Hearing Mu Qinglan's words, Lu Chen was stunned. He really didn't know anything about the need to merge with his second body before becoming an emperor. Even though he had the memory of being the son of the Emperor Shenyu in his previous life, he had never heard of this. Lu Chen then asked, How did you know? Seeing Lu Chen himself, Mu Qinglan didn't feel strange. In her opinion, the Emperor Tian's previous life memory had not been fully restored, so it was not strange that he didn't know about this. The Tianhuo clan has some history books that record some preparations before becoming an emperor. Lu Chen said, So that's the case. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Hurry up and practice. As soon as the voice fell, Lu Chen began to move, and Mu Qinglan entered the state again. After the intimacy with Mu Qinglan ended, Lu Chen flashed to the room of the Tianhong Empress. Empress Tianhong was in seclusion at this time. She had never expected Lu Chen to appear in her room. When she felt Lu Chen's breath, Empress Tianhong immediately opened her beautiful eyes. Empress Tianhong's cold eyes were puzzled. Why did Lu Chen come to her bedroom? Could it be that this bastard was ready to attack her? Thinking of this, Empress Tianhong's face became even colder. If this bastard really wanted it, she might not be able to refuse. She also found out recently that she was already wrapped with a circle of marriage lines with Lu Chen. After Empress Tianhong came to her senses, she asked coldly, What do you want from me? End of this chapter. Chapter 952, Your Majesty, what else do you want? Although Empress Tianhong still looked cold, Lu Chen didn't pay too much attention. He used the system to identify Empress Tianhong's situation. Name, Empress Rainbow. Identity, Reborn Empress, currently a first-level saint. After she died in the outer realm, her soul was sealed in the ferry boat by a mysterious being and became the spirit of the ferry boat. The body shaped by the host helped her. After being resurrected successfully, in order to repay the cause and effect, she planned to continue to stay with the host. Because her body was created using dragon and phoenix branches as a medium, her body had been longing to be close to the host, which made her feel very worried. Rating: 100. Favorability: 80. Lu Chen was surprised to see that Empress Tianhong's cultivation had indeed returned to the realm of a saint. This Empress Tianhong kept her secrets and practiced quietly alone, and she has actually returned to the saint level. Her cultivation speed has been improved far faster than her own. He still had a system, but a person without a system could improve so quickly. Lu Chen even wondered if she had died too. But this is also understandable. After all, he was the empress in his previous life and had the memory of the empress. Then Lu Chen's eyes fell on Empress Tianhong's favorability. Lu Chen smiled slightly when he saw that the favorability level of Empress Tianhong was already 80. He remembered that when he resurrected Empress Tianhong, the favorability of Empress Tianhong was only 30. When he did nothing to Empress Tianhong, the favorability of Empress Tianhong was able to naturally rise to 80, which was considered very good. Not bad. Lu Chen said directly, I have some questions about Emperor Cheng that I want to ask you. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Empress Tianhong frowned slightly. Emperor Cheng's question? Lu Chen came to ask him about becoming an emperor? Could it be that this guy saw something? She soon realized that Lu Chen was already at the third level of sainthood. If he were someone else's third level saint, he would still have many thousands of years until he became emperor. But Lu Chen was different. With the speed at which Lu Chen's cultivation level was improving, it would probably take a few years. He is about to attain enlightenment and become an emperor. It was unbelievable that this guy was about to achieve enlightenment and become an emperor. When she first recovered, she always felt that Lu Chen was a hopeless waste who only knew how to lie on a woman's body, and would never become an emperor in this life. Unexpectedly, in just a few years, this guy has already reached the saint realm and is heading towards the path of the emperor. Is it possible that he really wants to rely on his so-called way of life to become an emperor? Thinking of the way of life that Lu Chen boasted in front of her wives and concubines, Empress Tianhong felt a little awkward. She could become an emperor even if she enjoyed the pleasures of fish and water every day. If Lu Chen really became one, how many cultivators in this universe would have the Taoist heart? Collapse. Lu Chen then continued, as the weapon spirit of the Fiheng immortal boat, you should have been born for countless years, and you must know a lot about it. Empress Tianhong then asked, what's the problem, Your Majesty? Lu Chen continued to ask, I heard that before becoming an emperor, you need to fuse all your secondary bodies. Empress Tianhong didn't answer immediately. She looked at Lu Chen expressionlessly. Lu Chen's face was calm and he didn't think he was joking with her. Logically speaking, it is impossible for Lu Chen, a reincarnated emperor, not to know that he must fuse all his incarnations before becoming an emperor. After all, he is someone who has experienced it. Empress Tianhong quickly realized that it was most likely that Lu Chen had not fully recovered his past life memory, so he didn't know what Emperor Zhendao needed to do before. Empress Tianhong then replied, if you are a monk with extremely high talents and a special physique, your main body and secondary body can be separated and become an emperor. But there can be no more than 5 monks in a universe who can separate the main body and the secondary body and become an emperor. For most monks, before becoming an emperor, they must integrate the cultivation insights of all the secondary bodies. Only in this way can there be more opportunities. At this point, Empress Tianhong looked at Lu Chen. She thought that since Lu Chen's origin was so mysterious, he might be able to separate his main body and secondary body and become an emperor. Of course, there is no need to do this. After becoming emperor, it is actually the same thing to create several secondary bodies. Moreover, after becoming an emperor, the body is no longer important. As long as the emperor's soul is immortal, the emperor will live forever. Empress Tianhong then asked, Do you want your main body and secondary body to attain enlightenment separately and take different imperial paths? Out of curiosity, Empress Tianhong still asked her doubts. Lu Chen said, "That's not true, it's just that I'm worried that the quasi-emperor of Huangshan has a clone. If he escapes when the time comes, it will bring more trouble to the Great Xia Dynasty." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Empress Tianhong thought, too, how could someone in this era take a different body and follow a different imperial path? If it were hundreds of billions of years ago, in the era of great strife, there might have been some proud men who did this. But now that the catastrophe is approaching, people are thinking of becoming emperors quickly to avoid the catastrophe. No one will take such a risk. Just when Empress Tianhong was distracted, Lu Chen suddenly said with a smile, "Why do I feel that Hong is a little different today? She doesn't seem to cherish words as much as before." Hearing Lu Chen's teasing, Empress Tianhong came to her senses instantly. The next moment, her face became even colder, and her body seemed to exude a faint pressure. Empress Tianhong asked indifferently, "Is there anything else your Majesty can do?" Seeing that the Rainbow Empress suddenly changed her expression again, Lu Chen did not care, but said, Hong, your cultivation level is improving too fast, you have already broken through to the Saint Realm." Seeing that Lu Chen saw through her cultivation level, the Rainbow Empress was stunned again. She practiced the secret technique of hiding her cultivation level. Not to mention that Lu Chen is now a saint, even the emperor should not see through her cultivation level. Why did this guy see through her cultivation level at a glance? This is not a good thing. If this guy knows that she is the reincarnation of the Empress, I don't know what will happen. After following this bastard for a long time, she knows very well what Lu Chen likes. This bastard likes to ravage those women who look high and mighty, such as the Empress. Her identity may stimulate Lu Chen and stimulate his habit. Empress Tianhong couldn't make any excuses at this time. She knew very well that the more she said, the easier it would be to expose herself, so she said, "If your Majesty has nothing else to do, go and do your own thing." Lu Chen didn't continue to ask, but smiled faintly, and then he left Empress Tianhong's palace. Seeing Lu Chen leave, Empress Tianhong's frown slowly relaxed. The moment Lu Chen entered the room, she felt her body was restless, and that feeling made her very uncomfortable. She had guessed why her body had that feeling towards Lu Chen. Lu Chen used the tea leaves of the dragon and phoenix tree to control his wives and concubines, and the branches of the dragon and phoenix tree were used to make her body. Obviously, the abnormality of her body was caused by the dragon and phoenix tree. What she didn't understand was why the power of the dragon and phoenix tree was so terrifying. After all, she had the soul of the emperor, so it should be possible to restrain this impulse. But she tried many times, but she couldn't get rid of the restless feeling. This feeling was about to affect her cultivation. If she didn't find a way to eliminate it, she might not be able to recover her cultivation to the level of a great emperor. End of this chapter. Chapter 953, The Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan arrives. Yulong Sect. Meeting Hall. The whole hall was silent. No one dared to speak until the Emperor Huangshan, who was sitting in the main seat, spoke. After a while, Emperor Huangshan spoke, "I believe you have all heard about the Emperor's tomb. I am ready to take you to the Chaos Star Sea in person to find the Emperor's tomb." Taiwan Novel Network. After hearing this, everyone present immediately said, "Thank you, Your Excellency." Emperor Huangshan glanced at everyone present, and then said to Wu Peng on the side, "Wu Peng, tell me all the information you know." Wu Peng said respectfully, "Yes, Your Excellency." Then Wu Peng said, "Our people found a star field that was erased from the star map near the Huangshan star field. The outside of that star field looks like a black field, so no one has ever set foot in it." Wu Peng was about to continue speaking, but was interrupted by the Huangshan Quasi-Emperor. "Since the outside looks like a black field, how did you discover the Chaos Star Sea?" Whenever people see the black field, they will inevitably feel fear and will not enter it. If they don't enter, how can they discover the chaos star sea wrapped in the black field? Faced with this question, Wu Peng said calmly, "Reply to the Venerable, there is a cultivator from the Chaos Star Sea who escaped from the Chaos Star Sea, and the news of the Chaos Star Sea came from that cultivator at the beginning." The Venerable Huang Shan asked, "Where is that cultivator now?" Wu Peng replied, "When we sent disciples into the Chaos Star Sea to find the Emperor's tomb, we took that cultivator into the Chaos Star Sea with us. As a result, we did not expect that there were Saint Realm strongmen in the Chaos Star Sea, and all the disciples we sent to inquire about the news were killed, including that cultivator." Wu Peng directly took all the credit for discovering the Chaos Star Sea on himself. As for the Kanghai sect, in his eyes, it was just a small force that could be destroyed at will. It is estimated that it is gone now. From now on, except for a few senior members of the Yulong sect, no one will know that it was the Kanghai sect that first discovered the Emperor's tomb. As the force that discovered the Emperor's tomb, they have made great contributions. At that time, the Venerable Huang Shan will definitely let them take more treasures or inheritances, or reward them with something. After hearing Wu Peng say that the cultivator had been killed, everyone basically understood that the first to discover the Emperor's tomb was probably not the Yulong sect, but they didn't care about that. Anyway, the person is dead now, and there is no evidence. No matter how much you say, it's useless. Since the Emperor's tomb has been discovered, the top priority is to go to the Chaos Star Sea to open the Emperor's tomb. At this time, the Emperor Huang Shan asked, "What level is the saint in the Chaos Star Sea?" The Emperor Huang Shan was a little worried that a superpower in the universe would discover the Emperor's tomb. If the other party came from a superpower, even if he was a quasi-emperor, he would not be qualified to compete with the other party for the Emperor's tomb. "The treasure is tempting, but you have to be alive to get it." Wu Peng replied, "We don't know this either. The person we sent to explore the Chaos Star Sea was a saint of the second level. His clone had not had time to send back the message before the soul connection between the main body and the secondary body was broken." Huang Shan Quasi-Emperor thought for a moment. He was able to use space blockade to block the entire space, and he was also able to block the consciousness of the saint of the second level in the space. This person's cultivation was at least above the saint of the fifth level. If the other party was just a saint of the fifth level, he would not be able to make any waves in front of his quasi-emperor. Let alone the saint of the fifth level, even if the other party was a quasi-emperor, he would have the strength to fight, but the question was whether there was a superpower behind the other party. If there was a great emperor behind the other party, even if he could kill the other party, he would not dare to do it casually. After pondering for a moment, the quasi-emperor Huang Shan said, "Now that we have understood the basic situation of the Chaos Star Sea, let's set off for the Chaos Star Sea in 3 days. The great emperor's tomb is very attractive to everyone. The longer it takes, the more likely it is to attract the attention of superpowers. Moreover, the restrictions of the Chaos Star Sea have dissipated, and the existence of the Great Emperor level is likely to discover the Chaos Star Sea. They must hurry up and get the treasures and inheritance in the Great Emperor's tomb before some Great Emperors discover the Great Emperor's tomb in the Chaos Star Sea." After hearing the words of the Quasi-Emperor Huang Shan, everyone present became excited. They were finally going to the Chaos Star Sea. When they thought of the treasures and inheritance in the Great Emperor's tomb, they were extremely excited. 3 days later, the Quasi-Emperor Huang Shan led the main forces of the Huangshan Star region to the Chaos Star Sea. During this period, people did not pay attention to the fact that the Kanghai sect had been wiped out. After all, people's attention was focused on the Great Emperor's tomb. Who would care about the affairs of other sects? Besides, one less sect means one less competitor for them, and all the major forces wish that fewer forces would go to the Chaos Star Sea. At the same time, Qunran World, Jinluan Palace. Lu Chen was lying on Nangang Yuehua's phoenix chair, while Nangang Yuehua sat astride Lu Chen, and Nangang Yuehua's phoenix robe was half open, revealing her fair shoulders. Lu Chen looked at the misty queen in front of him with a smile, and asked with a smile, "You are getting more and more open." After Lu Chen came in, he did almost nothing, and it was Nangang Yuehua who was touching him alone. Nangang Yuehua breathed out lightly and didn't say anything. She used to think it was a humiliation, but after spending time with Lu Chen for a long time, she didn't care anymore. For her, having sex with Lu Chen is practice, and she has nothing to avoid. Moreover, this method of practice is much faster than her own practice. Doing it every once in a while can speed up the improvement of her practice. At this moment, Bai Qingqing appeared in the main hall. "Your Majesty, the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan has set off with all the forces in the Huangshan Star region." Hearing this, Lu Chen said calmly, "Finally they are here. If they don't come again, I would like to go to the Huangshan Star territory in person." After hearing Bai Qingqing's words, Nangang Yuehua stopped, and Lu Chen lay on her butt with a snap. "What are you stopping for?" Nangang Yuehua's delicate body trembled slightly, and just as she was about to say something, Lu Chen continued, "Even if they set off, it will take some time to reach the outskirts of Qunren world." Nangang Yuehua said, "I understand." Then Nangang Yuehua continued to be busy with his own affairs, while Lu Chen said to Bai Qingqing, "Let the patrollers always pay attention to the edge of the Chaos Star Sea. Once you discover the ferry boat in the Huangshan Star territory, tell me immediately." Bai Qingqing said, "Yes, Your Majesty." As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Qingqing left the hall, while Lu Chen continued to help Nangang Yuehua, the queen, practice. Time passed day by day, and finally the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan and a group of forces from the Huangshan Star territory arrived at the outskirts of Qunren world. When they saw the life world of Qunren world, the monks from all the major forces in the Huangshan Star region became excited. End of chapter. Chapter 954. The Skyfire clan, are hiding very deeply. When the cultivators of the major forces in the Huangshan Star region entered the black area outside the Chaos Star Sea, they were more or less nervous. Taiwan Novel Network. Even some emperors who entered the black area might not be able to get out. If the place they entered was a real black area, they would probably die in it. Although most of them came with only a clone, their strength would drop sharply after the clone died. Once the clone died and their cultivation level dropped, it would take hundreds of thousands of years to recover. However, when they passed through this dark area and saw the Qunren world, their worries were finally dispelled. Since there is a world of life, it means that what Wu Peng said is completely true. This also further confirms the possibility that there is a tomb of a great emperor or some kind of treasure in this star field. That dark area is so wide, just to hide such a wild star field? Obviously impossible. In the Qunren world, in the Golden Palace, Lu Chen felt refreshed, while Nangang Yuehua lay weakly on the phoenix chair. Lu Chen stood up and said, "The guests are here, I have to entertain them. Yuehua, you should have a good rest." After the words fell, Lu Chen did not hesitate at all, and his figure disappeared in an instant. When he appeared again, Lu Chen was already in the void. Mu Qinglan and Empress Tianhong also noticed that there were dozens of powerful auras appearing on the periphery of the Chaos Star Sea. Among these dozens of powerful auras, the pressure of one aura was particularly terrifying. It was obvious that it was no longer a saint cultivator. Mu Qinglan and Empress Tianhong did not hesitate at all, and immediately left the Qunren world and came to Lu Chen in the void. At this time, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan, who was in a certain immortal boat, suddenly opened his eyes. He clearly sensed that 3 people flew out of the Qunren world, 2 of whom were saints, and 1 looked like a Gigzu realm. However, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan did not leave the immortal boat immediately. He released his spiritual power and directly explored the entire Chaos Star Sea. The Chaos Star Sea was not big for a Quasi-Emperor like him. In just a moment, he explored the entire Chaos Star Sea. After his exploration, it seemed that there were only 2 saints in the Chaos Star Sea, and in the core area of the Chaos Star Sea, there was a world of higher life with extremely rich spiritual power. This made the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan more convinced that the Chaos Star Sea had the Emperor's tomb, and in his opinion, the Emperor's tomb should exist in that higher life world. At this time, the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan continued to use his spiritual power to deeply explore the situation of the Tianquan world, but found that his spiritual power could not penetrate into the Tianquan world. His spiritual power was blocked by a layer of colorful power outside the Tianquan world. The Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan was stunned. With his Kuei-Sai Emperor's strength, he could not explore a higher life world? Sure enough! There really is a tomb of the Emperor or treasure in that higher life world. Even though Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor was a Kuei-Sai Emperor, he was a little excited at this moment. At this time, all the immortal boats in Huangshan Star region stopped, and all the forces in Huangshan Star region had discovered Lu Chen and the other 2 in the void. After sensing that 2 of the 3 people in the void had the aura of saints, the saints of the major forces in Huangshan Star region also flew out of the immortal boats, suspended in the void, and looked ahead quietly. Before Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor gave an order, they would not take any action. At this time, the leader of a force threatened, "Tell me the location of the Emperor's tomb immediately, otherwise you will die." Seeing that the other party threatened him right away, Lu Chen just smiled lightly, and then he said, "There is no so-called Emperor's tomb in Chaos Star Sea, you will have a wasted trip today." Seeing that Lu Chen dared to refute them directly, Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor's eyes flashed with solemnity. Although he had not gone out yet and did not emit the pressure of the Kuei-Sai Emperor, there were already more than 20 saints outside. Just these 20 or so saintly strong men are not something that the 2 saints of Chaos Star Sea can fight against. The other party should also know this. Then why does the other party look calm, as if he does not regard the Huangshan Star region as a threat at all? Is it true that there is no tomb of the Emperor in this place? Or are there very strong backgrounds behind these 3 people, so they are not afraid of them at all? No matter which reason it is not good news for him. Huangshan Kuei-Sai Emperor did not stay in the immortal boat any longer. He flew out of the immortal boat directly. When he came out, a majestic pressure fell from the sky and directly pressed on Lu Chen and the other 2. The moment the pressure of the Kuei-Sai Emperor was released, Lu Chen felt as if all the bones in his body were about to be crushed, and there was a trace of blood in his mouth. Lu Chen thought to himself, "Is this the pressure of the Kuei-Sai Emperor level? It is terrifying enough." Then Lu Chen called the power of the origin to flow throughout his body, and used King Mu Chong Sheng Gong to repair his body all the time. In this way, Lu Chen resisted the pressure of the Kuei-Sai Emperor. At this time, Mu Qinglan also felt very uncomfortable. She had no choice but to activate the heavenly fire in her body. As the heavenly fire burned in her body, her strength quickly increased to the 9th level of saint. However, even with the strength of the 9th level of saint, facing the pressure of the Kuei-Sai Emperor, Mu Qinglan felt very uncomfortable, but no matter what, she managed to withstand it. Lu Chen and Mu Qinglan both spent a lot of effort to resist the pressure from the Kuei-Sai Emperor, but the Tianhong Empress was different. She looked calm from beginning to end, without any pain on her face, as if the pressure from the Kuei-Sai Emperor did not exist at all. However, the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan's eyes were not on the Tianhong Empress, and he did not pay any attention to the situation of the Tianhong Empress. At this time, the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan frowned, and his eyes were fixed on Mu Qinglan, who was emitting white flames. The face of Mu Qinglan and the flames on Mu Qinglan were too familiar to the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan. He did not expect Mu Qinglan to be in the Chaos Star Sea. When the Kuei-Sai Emperor Huangshan reacted, a spiritual power was released instantly. After his investigation, he suddenly found that none of the immortal boats of the Tianhuo clan who had followed them to the Chaos Star Sea were there. At the beginning, the immortal boats of the Tianhuo clan had been hanging behind, and the quasi-emperor Huangshan did not take it seriously at first. The emperor of Huangshan finally understood why the Skyfire clan didn't follow. It turned out that the Skyfire clan had discovered the existence of the Chaos Star Sea. Since they discovered the existence of the Chaos Star Sea, why didn't they report it? The emperor of Huangshan narrowed his eyes slightly, and then said directly, "Mu Qinglan, your Skyfire clan is very well hidden." Hearing the words of the emperor of Huangshan, the cultivators present were stunned. Skyfire clan? What does this have to do with the Skyfire clan? At this time, the high-level officials of the Yulong sect reacted. Although most people had never seen Mu Qinglan, they had heard of this name. The high-level officials of the Yulong sect looked at the three people in the void in disbelief. Could it be that one of these three people was Mu Qinglan? How is this possible? The people who came to their senses hurriedly turned back to look for the immortal boat of the Skyfire clan, but the immortal boat of the Skyfire clan had disappeared without a trace. Seeing that the emperor of Huangshan recognized her, Mu Qinglan's face changed slightly and became even colder. She didn't want the emperor of heaven to see that there were other men thinking about her. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 955, Misunderstanding of the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan. Mu Qinglan then said, "Venerable Huangshan, there is no great emperor's tomb or treasure in the Chaos Star Sea. I'm afraid you will have made a wasted trip today." Hearing Mu Qinglan's words, Quasi-Emperor Huangshan said, "If there is no treasure, then what are you doing here? I believe your Tianhuo clan has discovered the existence of the Chaos Star Sea long ago. You discovered the existence of the Great Emperor's tomb, but you didn't tell me. It seems that you have great ambitions." Taiwan Novel Network. Quasi-Emperor Huangshan thought of what Wu Peng said, that the saint they sent to investigate was killed before the news was passed on. So thinking about it, it might be Mu Qinglan's own action. The strength that Mu Qinglan has shown now has reached the 8th or 9th level of the saint. It is still very easy to block the consciousness of the 2nd level of the saint with this strength. Seeing that the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan still believed that there was a tomb of the Great Emperor in the Chaos Star Sea, Mu Qinglan stopped talking. Next, she just needed to see the powerful person behind the Emperor of Heaven take action. Mu Qinglan believed that since Lu Chen dared to bring the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan and all the forces in the Huangshan Star region here, he must have been well prepared. These people should not be a threat to the Emperor of Heaven. Thinking of this, Mu Qinglan turned her head slightly and looked at Lu Chen on the side. At this time, Lu Chen still looked calm and didn't look nervous at all. When the Queen of Tianhong saw Lu Chen's expression, she was a little confused. The soul of the Queen of Tianhong was very powerful. It was very easy for her soul to sense the powerful Great Emperor hidden in the Chaos Star Sea. However, after the Queen of Tianhong's investigation, there were no powerful Great Emperors in the Chaos Star Sea. If there were no powerful Great Emperors, they would probably not be the opponents of the Quasi-Emperor with just the three of them. Unless she burns her soul, but her soul has not been repaired yet, she can't burn her soul to fight. If she burns her soul at this time, she may never be able to become an emperor in the future. For the emperor, the soul is life. If the soul is immortal, the emperor is immortal. Her soul itself is already incomplete. If she continues to burn her soul to fight, she might be killed accidentally. Empress Tianhong glanced at Lu Chen with the corner of her eyes, observed Lu Chen's expression, and found that Lu Chen really didn't look nervous at all. Empress Tianhong was even more curious about his trump card. Although Lu Chen was a little lustful, after getting along for this period of time, Empress Tianhong also knew that Lu Chen was a more stable person, and Lu Chen would not do anything without certainty. Since Lu Chen brought these people here, it proved that he had the confidence to fight against the entire Huangshan Star region, but he didn't know where his confidence came from. At the same time, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan in the distance saw that Mu Qinglan ignored him and his eyes fell on Lu Chen beside him. The Quasi-Emperor Huangshan suddenly felt extremely angry. The next moment, the momentum of the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan became stronger again, and the pressure on Lu Chen also increased a lot again, but Lu Chen looked like nothing happened. At this time, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan noticed that this man could actually withstand the pressure of his Quasi-Emperor, and the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan frowned slightly. He could feel that this man's cultivation was only the third level of the saint, but he could actually withstand the pressure of his Quasi-Emperor. He didn't find it strange that Mu Qinglan could withstand his pressure. After all, Mu Qinglan activated the Sky Fire. After the Sky Fire of the Sky Fire clan was activated, the strength would instantly increase several times. It was normal for her to barely withstand it. However, the man next to Mu Qinglan did not have the Sky Fire, and he looked like he had just withstood the pressure. The Quasi-Emperor Huangshan suddenly reacted, and his eyes fell on the Tianhong Empress next to Lu Chen. Seeing that the Tianhong Empress also looked fine, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan became even more confused. Mu Qinglan and the man were both saints after all, and the woman in the red skirt only had the aura of the Gigzu realm. How could she resist the pressure of the Quasi-Emperor? She hid her cultivation. Even if the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan was stupid, he reacted at this time. After understanding what was going on, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan became alert instantly. As a Quasi-Emperor, he couldn't see through the other party's strength, and the other party completely ignored his pressure, which proved that the woman in the red skirt might have the same cultivation as himself and was also a Quasi-Emperor. After thinking of this possibility, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan snorted coldly and said, "No wonder the Tianhuo clan dares to be an enemy of me. It turns out that there is also a Quasi-Emperor behind you." In fact, being able to withstand his pressure, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan could also guess that the Tianhong Empress was a great emperor, but the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan did not think that the woman in the red skirt in front of him was a great emperor at all. The great emperor cannot be insulted. If the other party is really a great emperor, how could the other party not react at all after his pressure was released? That can only mean that the woman in the red skirt is just a Quasi-Emperor. When everyone heard the words coming out of the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan's mouth, they were stunned. Quasi-Emperor? There are actually Quasi-Emperors in the Chaos Star Sea? How is this possible? The people of the Yulong sect, such as Wu Peng, turned pale and sweated profusely. They thought that there were only saint-level strong men in the Chaos Star Sea at most, but now even Quasi-Emperors have appeared. If there is a Quasi-Emperor in the Chaos Star Sea, even if there is a great emperor's tomb in the Chaos Star Sea, it may have nothing to do with them. By then, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan may think that the Yulong sect is useless and doesn't even know that there is a Quasi-Emperor in the Chaos Star Sea. At this time, not to mention the people of Huangshan Star region, even Lu Chen and the other three were stunned. Quasi-Emperor? What kind of Quasi-Emperor did they come from? What is the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan talking about? At this moment, the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan looked at the Empress Tianhong and asked, "I wonder what force the fairy comes from." Seeing the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan's eyes fall on the Empress Tianhong, Lu Chen instantly understood what was going on. It turned out that the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan saw that the Empress Tianhong easily blocked his pressure, and he couldn't see through her true cultivation, so he thought she was a Quasi-Emperor. The Empress Tianhong didn't pay attention to the words of the Quasi-Emperor of the Emperor. She was naturally not a Quasi-Emperor now, but she also understood that as long as she didn't speak, she could deter the other party and let the other party continue to think wildly. Seeing that the Tianhong Empress did not answer his question, the face of the Huangshan Quasi-Emperor darkened, and then he said, "Fairy, although you and I are both Quasi-Emperors, I have dozens of saints around me. If we really fight, you may not be my opponent. Since we have all found the tomb of the great emperor, why don't we enter the tomb together and look for the treasures and opportunities inside? As long as we enter the tomb of the great emperor, it will depend on our abilities. Whoever finds the treasure will own it." I believe that even if you have entered the tomb of the Great Emperor, you may not have entered the deepest part of the tomb of the Great Emperor. There are still countless mechanisms and formations inside that you have not cracked. The Huangshan Quasi-Emperor did not want to fight with a Quasi-Emperor. He burned his life essence and blood to prove his Dao and become an emperor. Although he is still a Quasi-Emperor, his strength has declined. He is not sure whether the strength of the red-dressed woman in front of him is at the peak of the Quasi-Emperor. If this Quasi-Emperor was at his peak, he would definitely not be able to deal with him now, so he asked other saints from the Huangshan Star region to put pressure on the Tianhong Empress. End of this chapter. Chapter 956, There is actually an emperor in the Chaos Star Sea. The difference between the Quasi-Emperor and the Great Emperor is not the slightest. The Great Emperor can kill countless saints with a flip of his hands, but the Quasi-Emperor does not have such strength. If many saints join forces, even the Quasi-Emperor may fall. In the eyes of the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan, there are only 2 saints around the woman in red dress in front of him. Even if the Emperor of the Tianhuo clan is included, there are only 3 saints. And there are at least 30 saints behind him. So many saints add up. Even the consumption can kill this woman in the red dress. However, Empress Tianhong still paid no attention to the words of the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan. She just hung in the void and looked at the immortal boat in the Huangshan Star territory indifferently. Seeing that Empress Tianhong did not speak, Emperor Huangshan's face became darker and darker, and he did not continue to speak. The atmosphere in the entire star field became very dull, and the 2 sides entered a confrontation stage. After an unknown amount of time, Empress Tianhong turned to Lu Chen and said, "When do you plan to take action?" Although Empress Tianhong's voice was very low, as a Quasi-Emperor, Huangshan Quasi-Emperor obviously heard it clearly. Seeing that the Quasi-Emperor he thought actually asked this question to the man next to him, and still let him take action, Huangshan Quasi-Emperor only then did the Emperor react. This woman in the red dress is not the most powerful among them? How is this possible? Only then did the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan's eyes fall on Lu Chen. Seeing Lu Chen and Mu Qinglan standing so close, the expression on the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan's face changed again and again. He already had a guess in his mind, but he didn't want his guess to be right. The Quasi-Emperor Huangshan finally asked directly, "Mu Qinglan, what is your relationship with this man?" Regarding this question, Mu Qinglan did not hesitate at all and said directly, "I am his maid." Maid? Emperor Huangshan knows very well what maids in this era are responsible for. What's more, she is such a beautiful maid as Mu Qinglan. I am afraid that Mu Qinglan has been insulted by this man countless times. Thinking of this, the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan was filled with anger. He had never even touched the woman he liked. He originally planned to marry her after he broke through and became the emperor, but it turned out that she was already someone else's maid. In anger, a huge human form suddenly appeared behind the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan. The power of the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan suddenly increased dozens of times, and this coercion went straight towards Lu Chen. Whether it was for the emperor's tomb or because of Mu Qinglan, the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan now wanted to kill the pretty boy in front of him as soon as possible. After sensing the danger, Lu Chen did not hesitate any longer. Although he was reluctant to use it, in this case, he still had to use one of the Emperor summoning cards. The next moment, Lu Chen took out an Emperor summoning card from the system space. The moment the Emperor summoning card came out, a majestic pressure instantly descended on the Chaos Star Sea. As soon as this coercion came, the Dharma behind the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan was directly crushed by this coercion, and the saints in the Huangshan Star territory were also vomited blood by this coercion. The cultivators in the Huangshan Star territory, the monks with lower status, were even crushed to death by this coercion. After feeling this majestic pressure, Emperor Huangshan's face changed drastically. How could he not understand what this pressure meant? The Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan didn't hesitate at all, and directly shattered the void, intending to escape from the chaotic star sea. But as soon as he punched the void in front of him, an inexplicable force suddenly repaired the space vortex blasted in front of him. The quasi-emperor of Huangshan was stunned. How so? There is actually a great emperor in the chaos star sea. Why does the great emperor exist? Is this all just a game? The quasi-emperor of Huangshan felt extremely regretful for a moment, regretting that he came here after hearing the news about the emperor's tomb. At this time, a man wearing golden armor appeared in front of Lu Chen out of thin air. The man knelt down directly to Lu Chen and said, "Greetings to the Lord." Seeing the strong man in front of them calling Lu Chen their lord, the monks in the Huangshan star region were completely confused. A great emperor actually called that young man his lord? How is this possible? You can imagine the identity of this young man. This is definitely the emperor of a certain dynasty. The monks present broke out in cold sweat at the thought that they had actually offended the emperor of a certain dynasty, especially the quasi-emperor of Huangshan. The saint-level monks present all have clones. Even if they die, their main bodies will at most have declined in cultivation. They can recover after some time of practice, but he is different. As a quasi-emperor who is about to become a great emperor, he has already fused all his secondary bodies, which means that if he dies here, he will really die. The quasi-emperor of Huangshan Mountain did not hesitate and said directly to Lu Chen, "Young master, I was blind and I bumped into you. As long as you let me go, I will do whatever you ask me to do from now on." For the quasi-emperor of Huangshan, dignity and nothing else mattered. He was about to become an emperor and he didn't want to die here. However, Lu Chen did not respond immediately. He quietly looked at the quasi-emperor of Mount Huang in the distance, seeming to be thinking about something. The quasi-emperor of Huangshan is also a quasi-emperor after all. Although he now has the Great Emperor Summoning card, the use time of the Great Emperor Summoning card is only 1 hour, and one less card is used. If he can conquer a quasi-emperor with this quasi-emperor thug, the strength of the Great Xia Dynasty will be able to rise to a higher level in the future. As a dynasty, if there is not even a quasi-emperor, can it still be called a dynasty? However, when Lu Chen thought about how the quasi-emperor Huangshan had always been thinking about Mu Qinglan, he always felt a little uncomfortable. Mu Qinglan was his woman, and no man wanted his woman to be always thought about by other men. Lu Chen thought about it. His women were so beautiful, although some people did not say it, but there must be many men thinking about it in their hearts. If he was jealous because his woman was thought about by other men, he would probably be jealous. Lu Chen then said to the quasi-emperor Huangshan and others, "Hand over your life essence and blood, you can live." Hearing this, everyone present was stunned for a moment. If they really handed over their life essence and blood, their life and death would probably be controlled by the person in front of them. Especially the quasi-emperor Huangshan, he was very reluctant in his heart. He was about to become a great emperor, with unlimited glory. How could he hand over his life essence and become someone else's slave? But soon the quasi-emperor Huangshan reacted, yes, he could become an emperor in no more than 5,000 years, and when he became an emperor, his life would only be affected by his soul. Even if this person obtained his life essence, it would be impossible to control him as a great emperor. He only needed to endure for a few thousand years. Thinking of this, the quasi-emperor Huangshan directly handed over his life essence. "This is my life essence, thank you for sparing my life." Lu Chen directly collected the life essence of the quasi-emperor Huangshan, and then his eyes fell on the other cultivators present. End of this chapter. Chapter 957. Lu Chen goes to the Huangshan star region again. Seeing that the quasi-emperor of Mount Huang had handed over his life essence and blood, the saint monks present looked at me and I looked at you. These saints and monks are not the original body, and their life essence and blood are in the main body. Now if they are asked to hand over their life essence and blood, they cannot hand it over. And each of them is thinking about whether to let the main body escape from the Huangshan star territory quickly. They are also saints after all. Few monks at the saint level are willing to become the slaves of others. Even if the Huangshan Quasi Emperor rules the Huangshan Star territory, they will not be allowed to do so. Hand over your life essence and blood, otherwise they would have united to resist the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan. Although they could not resist the Emperor, as long as their bodies left the Huangshan Star territory, even the Emperor could not do anything to them. He believed that their bodies should have noticed something was wrong, and they would probably leave the Chaos Star Sea soon. Their secondary bodies were from the Chaos Star Sea that came with Huangshan Quasi Emperor. However, their secondary bodies lost contact with the main body in an instant. This obviously shows that there are strong people who can block the space in front of Huangshan Quasi Emperor. Even if their secondary bodies were unable to transmit useful information at this time, and their main bodies had a high probability of guessing that they were in danger. At this time, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan saw that all the saints behind him were indifferent, and he felt very unhappy in his heart. Even he, the Quasi-Emperor, had handed over his own life essence and blood, but these saints actually seemed unwilling to hand over their life. The look of essence and blood. Why did the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan directly say, "Hurry up and give your life essence and blood to the Lord"? After hearing the words of the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan, Wu Peng said tremblingly, "Your Majesty, our main body is still in the Huangshan Star territory." Wu Peng said this, and Huangshan Quasi-Emperor instantly realized that these guys are still saints, and they do not need to fuse their secondary bodies, so in order to save their lives, they cannot use their main bodies when going to dangerous places. The Quasi-Emperor Huangshan felt very unhappy when he thought that he was the only Quasi-Emperor who had become a slave. Then he looked at Lu Chen and said, "My lord, this old slave will go to the Huangshan Star territory and transfer the natal essences of all the saints in the Huangshan Star territory. Bring up the blood. Now is the time to show loyalty." Only in this way can Lu Chen relax his vigilance and prevent Lu Chen from getting in the way when he wants to become the great emperor. Lu Chen glanced at the loyalty of the people present and knew what they were planning. He said calmly, "Okay, you all can go back. From now on, you are not allowed to enter the Chaos Star Sea without my order." The Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan said respectfully, "I will obey the Lord's order." Lu Chen then said to the golden-armored emperor in front of him, "Okay, we can unlock the space blockade." As soon as Lu Chen gave the order, the golden-armored emperor immediately released the space blockade. The moment the space blockade was released, the monks present immediately connected with their spiritual consciousness to let the main body escape from the Huangshan Star territory. If their life essence and blood are controlled by others, they may never be able to turn over for the rest of their lives. They cannot let their main body be controlled by this man no matter what. Lu Chen had long realized that these people would immediately use the spiritual connection to make the main body escape from the Huangshan Star territory, but he still didn't care at all. The moment Lu Chen asked the golden-armored emperor to unlock the space blockade, he said to the golden-armored emperor, "Let's go." After the words fell, Lu Chen and his party arrived in front of the portal of Qunren world, and then they were directly transported to the Skyfire world through the portal. It didn't take even a minute for Lu Chen to go to the Huangshan Star territory, and even if those saints used their spiritual consciousness to convey the message to the main body, those main bodies would not be able to escape from the Huangshan Star territory before Lu Chen reached the Chaos Star Sea. At this moment, when the forces in the Huangshan Star territory returned to the Huangshan Star territory, they found that Lu Chen did not follow them, nor did he send anyone to escort them back to the Huangshan Star territory. Everyone felt a little strange. Isn't that guy afraid that they will run away immediately after they return? After all, no one wants to be someone else's slave, especially a monk at the saint level. Or does that person think that with Huangshan Quasi-Emperor around, even if they want to escape, Huangshan Quasi-Emperor will not let them leave? Just when the monks from all the major forces were distracted looking at the empty void behind them, suddenly, one of the immortal boats of Yulong sect was directly exploded. The next moment, a man covered in blood was blasted into the void. All eyes fell on the area where Yulong Sect's ferry boat was located. People took a closer look and found that the man covered in blood was Wu Peng, the leader of Yulong Sect. Wu Peng begged for mercy and said, "Your Majesty, the information about the Emperor's tomb in the Chaos Star Sea was given to us by the Kanghai sect. We also don't know that there is an Emperor in the Chaos Star Sea." Seeing Wu Peng's embarrassed appearance, the monks from all the major forces present began to rejoice in his misfortune. In the past, the Yulong sect relied on the trust of the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan to act recklessly in the Huangshan Star territory and offended many forces. I didn't expect that this time the Yulong sect would actually dig such a big hole for the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan, and it would make the Quasi Emperor miserable. The Yulong sect would definitely not be able to stay in the Huangshan Star territory anymore. Although the members of the Yulong sect in the Huangshan Star region may have received the news about the Chaos Star Sea at this time and are preparing to run away, with the death of their secondary bodies, the strength of all the senior leaders of the Yulong sect will be severely damaged. When they think of this, all the major forces present feel extremely comfortable. At this time, the Quasi Emperor Huangshan looked at Wu Peng angrily, his eyes full of murderous intent, and he looked like he wanted to tear Wu Peng into pieces. The Quasi Emperor of Huangshan stared at Wu Peng coldly and said, "I'm afraid your main body is already preparing to flee the Huangshan Star region. I tell you, no matter which star region you flee to or which world you hide in, I will find and tear apart the main bodies of those bastards of your Yulong sect." After hearing the words of the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan, Wu Peng suddenly felt a chill on his back. Although his main body had indeed received the news and was on the way to flee the Huangshan Star region, it was not a good thing to be hated by a Quasi Emperor. If the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan really wanted to hunt them down to death, they might not be able to escape. Wu Peng was about to beg for mercy, but the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan released golden light from his body. Seeing this, the people of the Yulong sect hurriedly fled in all directions, but when the golden light touched the bodies of the monks of the Yulong sect, their bodies instantly exploded into a bloody mist. At the same time, Huangshan Star region, Yulong sect. The main body of Wu Peng and a group of monks who were evacuating collectively vomited blood. Wu Peng's face turned pale instantly. He clenched his fists, and a cruel look flashed in his eyes. He remembered today's revenge. After Wu Peng calmed down the restless spiritual power in his body, he immediately said to the other people of the Yulong sect, "Hurry up." Facing the emperor next to Lu Chen, they had no chance of winning. Now they could only flee from the Huangshan Star region. And although they had already made enemies with the Huangshan Quasi Emperor, after the Huangshan Quasi Emperor became the slave of that emperor, he could not leave the Huangshan Star region at will, so even if the Huangshan Quasi Emperor wanted to destroy the Yulong sect, it would not be easy. End of this chapter. Chapter 958, Annexing Chaos Star Sea. Just when the Yulong sect and a group of forces from the Huangshan Star territory were preparing to escape from the Huangshan Star territory, a majestic pressure suddenly enveloped the entire Huangshan Star territory. Under this pressure, no monk could move, not even a saint. And people soon discovered that the entire Huangshan Star territory was blocked. At this time, the Huangshan Star territory was like a cage, and they were all locked up. The faces of those saints suddenly became as pale as dead people. Their pressure could spread throughout the entire star field and seal off the space of the entire star field. Only the Great Emperor could do this. In other words, the Great Emperor of the Chaos Star Sea has arrived in the Huangshan Star territory. How is that possible? Although the Chaos Star Sea seems to be right next door to the Huangshan Star territory, the distance between the two is unknown. It stands to reason that even the Great Emperor needs a certain amount of time to travel. How could the other party come to the Huangshan Star territory so quickly? Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Could it be that Emperor Xia didn't just have a great emperor beside him? In order to prevent them from escaping, Emperor Xia had already arranged for a great emperor to guard the Huangshan Star territory. Thinking of this possibility, all the saint monks in the Huangshan Star region fell into despair. At this time, the powerful voice of the golden armored emperor spread throughout the entire star field. Monks above the 8th level of the ruins realm must immediately hand over their life essence and blood. Otherwise, die. Hearing this, all the monks of the Yulong sect were on the verge of tears. They had offended the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan. They originally wanted to escape, but were restrained by the emperor. If they continued to stay in the Huangshan Star territory, the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan will definitely find a way to get rid of them all. Now there is only one way left, and that is to completely surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty and become a lackey of the Great Xia Dynasty. Under the protection of the Great Xia Dynasty, even if the Quasi Emperor Huangshan wants to do anything to Yulong sect, he must look at Emperor Xia's face. Thinking of this, Wu Peng immediately said to the monks of Yulong sect, "Listen to the emperor and hand over your life essence and blood." After Wu Peng finished speaking, the monks above the 8th level of the returned ruins realm of Yulong sect all handed over their life essence and blood. The next moment, all the life essence and blood suspended in the air flew to the hands of the golden armored emperor outside the Skyfire world. After collecting the life essence and blood of those monks, the golden armored emperor respectfully handed the life essence and blood to Lu Chen and said, "My lord, there are still a few saint monks who have not handed over the life essence and blood. What do you think should be done?" Lu Chen chuckled lightly. There are always one or two people who are lucky and think that the emperor will not find out that they did not hand over their life essence and blood. The emperor's exploration range is the entire star field, how can those saints hide? Lu Chen collected all the life essence and blood in Wu Peng's hand, and then said, "Since they are unwilling to surrender, then kill them all." Although Lu Chen had the need to expand his power, if his subordinates were disobedient and asked them to go east and west, then it would be useless to have more subordinates. They could just get rid of some people to intimidate those young men. After hearing Lu Chen's order, the golden armored emperor beside Lu Chen didn't hesitate at all. He directly raised his hand, and then waves of law power spread out from the golden armored emperor's hands. The next moment, there were several people in the Huangshan Star territory. A huge golden palm appeared in the sky where the saint was hiding. Feeling the giant golden palm, the saints were so frightened that they ran away quickly, but soon they found that their bodies had been imprisoned and could not move at all. They could only watch the huge golden palm fall, crush their bodies and souls together. Under the great emperor, all are ants. The saint can still fight with the quasi-emperor, but facing an emperor who is at the peak of his strength, he can only be crushed to death by one side. After dealing with those saints, the golden armored emperor respectfully said to Lu Chen, "My lord, those saints have been dealt with." Lu Chen nodded, "Let the leaders of all the first-rate forces in the Huangshan Star territory come to the Skyfire world to see me immediately." "Yes, lord." Immediately afterwards, the emperor's voice sounded again in the minds of all cultivators in the Huangshan Star territory. "The leaders of all the first-rate forces immediately go to the Skyfire world to pay homage to your master." Upon hearing this message, the leaders of the major forces in the Huangshan Star territory did not hesitate at all and immediately flew towards the Skyfire world, especially Wu Peng of the Yulong sect. They had offended the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan, and now they could only avoid the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan's revenge by hugging Emperor Xia's thigh, otherwise they would definitely be dead. Not long after, the leaders of all the first-rate forces in the Huangshan Star territory came to the void of the Skyfire world. When they saw Lu Chen, people suddenly felt incredible. Their secondary bodies have transmitted Lu Chen's appearance to their main bodies through the connection of spiritual consciousness, so they all know what Emperor Xia looks like. People can't believe that Emperor Xia actually came to the Huangshan Star territory in such a short period of time. How did he do this? Could it be that the Emperor Xia in front of him is a clone? In fact, he has already existed in the Huangshan Star territory. It seems that there is only one explanation now, right? People don't know about the holy portal anymore, and they can only regard Lu Chen in front of them as the main body or the clone. But now is not the time to care about this. Now the sky in the Huangshan star region has changed. From now on, they are just the Great Xia Dynasty and the servants of the Xia Emperor. When they thought of becoming someone else's slave and losing their freedom, the faces of all the leaders of the forces present were very ugly, and they all looked constipated. Lu Chen glanced at the leaders of all the forces present and said lightly, "It seems that you are very unconvinced." Hearing this, people hurriedly saluted and said, "We are convinced." Lu Chen did not continue to speak. His eyes swept over these people and used the system to identify their personal information. This time he subdued a total of 23 saints, and none of these saints had a loyalty of more than 40. However, Lu Chen did not care whether their loyalty was high or not. Now that their life essence blood was in his hands, even if they were unwilling to be loyal to him in their hearts, they had to listen to him, otherwise he only needed a thought to get rid of them. Lu Chen did not intend to say much at this time. The reason for asking these people to come was just to see their personal information. Now that their situation has been basically mastered, the next step is to bring the entire Huangshan star region into the rule of the Great Xia Dynasty. Then Lu Chen said, "From now on, the Huangshan star region will be incorporated into the rule of the Great Xia Dynasty, and you are all the people of the Great Xia Dynasty. Okay, you can go back today. I will convene a meeting of cultivators in a month, and then I will issue some imperial decrees." Then everyone saluted and said, "We will take our leave." Soon, the leaders of various forces returned to their own forces, except Wu Peng and a group of Yulong sect monks who did not leave. Seeing that Wu Peng had not left yet, the Golden Armor Emperor asked, "Why don't you leave?" Wu Peng hurriedly knelt down with the elders of the Yulong sect. "Your Majesty, we led the Huangshan Venerable to the Chaos Star Sea and disturbed your Majesty, please punish your Majesty." End of this chapter. Chapter 959. You are not in the God transformation realm. After hearing Wu Peng's words, Lu Chen instantly understood why the people from Yulong sect stayed. The Yulong sect took the entire Huangshan star territory to the Sea of Chaos Stars, but was taken over by the Great Xia Dynasty. The Yulong sect would definitely have a difficult time in the Huangshan star territory from now on. And the most important thing is that the Yulong sect has offended the Quasi Emperor Huangshan. Although the Quasi Emperor Huangshan is now Lu Chen's slave, the Quasi Emperor Huangshan will definitely find a way to cause trouble for the Yulong sect. Therefore, the Yulong sect stayed here just to be able to embrace the thighs and show loyalty. As long as it can gain the trust of Emperor Xia, no matter how much other forces in the Huangshan star territory dislike the Yulong sect, the Yulong sect's status in the Huangshan star territory will not be the same. It will drop too much. Although he saw through the purpose of Yulong sect, Lu Chen didn't think there was anything wrong. He wanted to integrate the entire Huangshan star territory, and he did need a spokesperson in the early stage. Although the Skyfire dynasty is his power, the Skyfire dynasty is his direct power after all, and he cannot let the Skyfire dynasty do everything, especially those things that offend others. Since the Yulong sect is willing to take the initiative to take the blame, it is natural to make good use of it. Taiwan Novel Network. Black Diamond. Black Diamond. Lu Chen once again glanced at the people of Yulong sect present and said calmly, "You are quite clever. Judging from your aura, your clones should have been wiped out by the Quasi Emperor of Mount Huang." Among the elders of Yulong sect present, their strength has basically dropped to the first level of saints, even worse than saints. It is obvious that their clones have been destroyed. The only one who can destroy their clones is the Quasi Emperor Huangshan. The Yulong sect took the Quasi Emperor Huangshan to the Chaos Star Sea and tricked the Quasi Emperor Huangshan into becoming someone else's slave. At this time, the Quasi Emperor Huangshan must have wanted to destroy the entire imperial palace. The dragon cult vents its anger. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Wu Peng immediately led all the elders of the Yulong sect to kneel in the void. "Please save your Majesty, the dragon sect. From now on, everyone in the Yulong sect will obey your majesty's orders, even if it means going up to the mountain of swords or going down into the sea of fire. Yulong Jiao will not hesitate. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then took out a token made of dragon and phoenix tree branches and threw it directly in front of Wu Peng. Take it. If the Quasi Emperor Huangshan comes to trouble you in the future, take out this token. Wu Peng raised his head and looked at the token floating in front of him. He was immediately overjoyed. With this token, no matter how dissatisfied the other forces in the Huangshan Star territory were with the Yulong sect, they would not dare to act rashly. After Wu Peng reacted, he quickly took the token given by Lu Chen in his hand. This token was a death-free gold medal for the Yulong sect. Lu Chen then said, "Okay, if you have nothing else to do, you can go back." After Lu Chen finished speaking, he turned around and left the void, returning to the Skyfire world. Seeing Lu Chen turning around and leaving, everyone in the Yulong sect hurriedly said, "Farewell, Your Majesty." Wu Peng then happily returned to the Yulong sect with the token. At the same time, the Quasi-Emperor Huangshan, who was still on his way back, had also learned through cultivators from other forces in the Huangshan Star region that Lu Chen had arrived in the Huangshan Star region one step ahead of them. After learning that Lu Chen had taken away the life essence and blood of the saints in the Huangshan Star region one step ahead, the face of Lord Huangshan suddenly darkened. The Yulong sect obviously knew that they had offended him, so the Yulong sect would definitely express their loyalty to Lu Chen before he returned to the Huangshan Star territory, and then gain Lu Chen's respect. In this way, he would not. The method is to take action against Yulong sect. Thinking of this, the pressure on Huangshan Quasi-Emperor couldn't help but be released instantly, and then he immediately accelerated his return. Although he had guessed what the Yulong sect might do, Huangshan Quasi-Emperor still couldn't swallow this breath. He just wanted to destroy the entire Yulong sect now. Tianyuan World. Xuanyu Palace. A woman in white plain clothes stood on the attic, looking at the full moon in the sky. At this time, the breeze blew, and the curtains in the attic swayed gently with the wind. Yun Qingshu said calmly, "It seems that Lu Yanghua is very angry." After Yun Qingshu finished speaking, a man's voice rang in the air, "Palace Master Yun is really calm." Yun Qingshu continued, "After all, he is the son of Emperor Shen Yu. However, he only sent a monk who is at the 8th level of the Ruins realm. It seems that he looks down on me too much." Hearing Yun Qingshu's words, the man smiled and said, "It is enough to destroy a low-level force and return to the Ruins realm." As the words fell, a purple flame suddenly burned in the air, and then, these flames turned into countless sword energy and flew towards Yun Qingshu. Quan Jun planned to deal with Xuanyu Palace first, and then go to Tianchen World. In his opinion, the most powerful person in Xuanyu Palace was Yun Qingshu, the palace owner, and Yun Qingshu was only at the divine realm. This task it's so simple. Just as those purple sword energies were about to come into contact with Yun Qingshu, a terrifying pressure suddenly erupted from Yun Qingshu's body, and this pressure instantly enveloped the entire Tianyuan world. Kuang Yan was closest to Yun Qingshu, and the pressure he endured was also the most intense. Under the moonlight night, a man's body suddenly appeared, and a mouth full of blood spurted out. Kuang Yan looked at Yun Qingshu in disbelief. At this time, Yun Qingshu slowly raised his hand and waved, and a blast of icy cold air directly scattered the sword energy burning with purple flames. Kuang Yan's pupils shrank and he murmured, You are not in the realm of transformation into gods. How is this possible?" According to what he found out, Yun Qingshu was the only person in Xuanyu Palace who was in the realm of divine transformation, and she had only just broken through. And now Yun Qingshu's pressure has obviously reached the level of a saint. How could a cultivator in the god transformation realm have the strength of a saint in such a short time? For a moment, Kuang Yan's eyes were full of fear. He thought that this mission was very simple, but he didn't expect that the first mission target was so terrifying. No, he can't die here. Kuang Yan used the Breaking Realm Talisman without any hesitation. Just when Yun Qingshu was about to attack again, Kuang Yan's body had disappeared on the spot. Kuang Yan, who escaped from the Tianyuan world, was panting heavily on his immortal boat. At this moment, he felt that the people around Lu Yanghua were all pigs. A saint was actually said to be a cultivator in the god transformation realm who had just broken through. How did those idiots collect intelligence? If it weren't for the fact that he had a Breaking Realm Talisman, he would probably die here today. This matter can't be let go. It must be reported to King Jin. Then Kuang Yan reported what he encountered to Lu Yanghua. After reporting Yun Qingshu's cultivation, Kuang Yan did not return immediately. Since this mission could not be completed, he would go to perform another assassination mission first. He did not believe that Lu Chen still had such strength. As Lu Yanghua's confidant, he knew very well that Lu Chen was already a useless person. Lu Chen might not even have broken through the realm of creation now. It was not easy to deal with this waste. At this time, Yun Qingshu was still standing in the attic. She looked at the full moon with a cold face and whispered, "I didn't expect that he still had the Breaking Realm Talisman in his hand." When she took action, she blocked the space in order to prevent the assassin from escaping. However, the Breaking Realm Talisman can directly break the blockade of the saint. This kind of talisman is extremely precious. Even the sons of some dynasties may not have this kind of talisman. An assassin took out the Breaking Realm Talisman, which obviously exceeded Yun Qingshu's expectations, but Yun Qingshu did not care. Let him run away. End of this chapter. Chapter 960. It's not like I can't even kill a piece of trash. Xia Dynasty. Lu Yanghua's fiefdom. Lu Yanghua was practicing in the training room when suddenly a voice came from outside the door, "Your Highness, there is news from Kuang Yan." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua opened his eyes and asked doubtfully, "He completed the task so quickly?" Lu Yanghua had no doubt that Kuang Yan could complete the assassination mission, but what he couldn't figure out was that it would take a certain amount of time for Kuang Yan to go to Tianchen World, and he shouldn't be able to complete the mission so quickly. The person at the door of the training room replied, "Kuai Yan originally planned to destroy Xuanyu Palace first, and then go to Tianchen World, but when Kuang Yan took action against the owner of Xuanyu Palace, he discovered that the owner of Xuanyu Palace was not a monk in the realm of transformation, but a saint." After hearing the report from his subordinates, Lu Yanghua's expression instantly became solemn. Saint? Now that he has returned to the Xia Dynasty, he has saints and guardians around him. Naturally, he is not afraid of saints, but he can't figure out how a mere power in the lower world can produce saints. After a while, Lu Yanghua said coldly, "No wonder Xuanyu Palace dares to disobey me again and again. It turns out that that woman is a saint." He asked why Yun Qingshu didn't take his words to heart. With the strength of a saint, it was normal not to take him seriously. But she probably didn't know her true identity, so she dared to disobey him. Thinking of this, Lu Yanghua said, "Let Quan Jun ignore Xuanyu Palace and go directly to Tianchen World to complete the task." Although it is indeed a bit troublesome to deal with a force that has a saint, it is not difficult for the son of Emperor Shenyu. Lu Yanghua thought in his heart that a monk at the 8th level of the Ruins realm would not be able to kill even a trash. As for Xuanyu Palace, if Yun Qingshu can be subdued, it will be a great help. Xuanyu Palace is not necessarily destroyed now. Although Lu Yanghua is protected by saints, no prince would complain that there are too many powerful saints around him. Lu Yanghua has felt a sense of crisis recently. Now that several princes have completed the trial of Emperor Shenyu and returned to the Xia Dynasty, the battle for the right to inherit the throne will become increasingly fierce. Moreover, Emperor Shenyu not long ago had people release the news that whoever is the heir to the throne will be able to obtain a drop of his blood essence and blood. With the blood essence and blood of the emperor, he can skip the training process and directly become a great emperor. This is a huge temptation for all the princes of Emperor Shen Yu. No one will let go of this opportunity. They can become the leader of the Xia Dynasty and become the emperor directly. They can reach the sky in one step. Liu Yanghua now also wants to conquer more strong men. Only when there are enough strong men around him will he be more confident. As for whether the palace owner of Swanyu Palace would surrender to him, he was not worried at all. If the palace owner of Swanyu Palace did not surrender, he would not mind taking the protectors around him to go there in person. After the Quasi Emperor Huangshan returned to the Huangshan Star territory, he went straight to Yulong sect. The expressions of the elders of Yulong sect who were holding a meeting in the main hall changed drastically after they felt this pressure. The next moment, the voice of the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan came from outside, "Wu Peng, get out of here. Otherwise, I will destroy your dragon control sect today." Upon hearing this, Wu Peng's face turned pale, and his body couldn't help but tremble. But Wu Peng soon realized that now that they had pledged their allegiance to the Great Xia Dynasty, they had nothing to fear. Moreover, Lu Chen also gave them a token. With this token, he did not believe that the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan would dare to confront them. What they do? Thinking of this, Wu Peng slowly stood up from the throne despite the pressure, and the next moment his body appeared at the door of the hall. Seeing Wu Peng coming out, Huangshan Quasi Emperor immediately prepared to take action against Wu Peng. If he didn't kill this Wu Peng, he would destroy the entire Yulong sect. It was difficult to understand the hatred in his heart. Seeing that the Quasi Emperor Huangshan was about to take action, Wu Peng took out the token given to him by Lu Chen without hesitation, and then said loudly, "Venerable Huangshan, now that we are all loyal to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven, we cannot let go of any grudges we have." Seeing that Wu Peng actually spoke to him like this, Lord Huangshan sneered, "Wu Peng, you don't think that because you have repaid yourself to the Emperor of Heaven, I won't dare to kill you." As he spoke, a blood-red spiritual power surged out of Wu Peng's body, and the next moment, a huge palm appeared in the sky above the Yulong sect. Seeing that the palm was about to fall from the sky, Wu Peng directly used his spiritual power to urge the token on his hand and threw the token into the air. "This is the token given to me by His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. Seeing this token is like seeing the Emperor of Heaven. If Lord Huangshan continues to be so unscrupulous, you will be responsible for the consequences." Seeing the token suspended in the air, Huangshan Quasi Emperor's face became even more ugly, and those dogs from Yulong sect actually hugged Lu Chen's lap. Is it possible to forget about it like this? The Quasi Emperor of Huangshan became angrier as he thought about it, and then he slapped it down. Even if he doesn't kill these people from the Yulong sect, he still has to make these people pay some price. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the token in the air, "Honorable Emperor Huangshan, you are a little angry. Are you dissatisfied with me?" Hearing Lu Chen's voice, beads of sweat instantly appeared on Huangshan Quasi Emperor's face. Without any hesitation, he directly withdrew his pressure and waved his hand, and the bloody palm in the sky instantly dissipated. Immediately afterwards, the Quasi Emperor of Huangshan respectfully said to the token, "Greetings, my lord. This old slave is joking with Leader Wu and the others, and has no intention of actually taking action." Lu Chen just snorted coldly and didn't pay much attention. The next moment, the token returned to Wu Peng's hand. Seeing that Lu Chen's breath seemed to have disappeared, Huangshan Quasi Emperor looked at Wu Peng below fiercely and said, "Master Wu, you'd better become an emperor within 10,000 years." After the voice fell, Huangshan Quasi Emperor left directly, and the people of Yulong sect breathed a sigh of relief. In the next 2 years, Huangshan Star region held several cultivator conferences, on the one hand to establish rules, and on the other hand to allow Huangshan Star region and Chaos Star Sea to better integrate. In order to make it easier to control Huangshan Star region, Lu Chen set up another imperial capital in Tianhua world. Although he didn't want to leave Tianchen world was indeed a bit too remote. In the past 2 years, Lu Chen absorbed a lot of the luck power of the life world. He used this luck power to help his wives and concubines give birth to sub-worlds. Lu Chen also obtained various treasures, and his cultivation level also reached the 7th level of saints. Lu Chen had never thought that just by controlling a star field, he could allow all his wives and concubines to give birth to sub-worlds. This immediately made him lose his ambition to expand outward. After all, his wives and concubines have given birth to sub-worlds, and his strength is steadily increasing. There is no need to continue to expand. Moreover, if he continues to expand now, it will attract the attention of some dynasties. End of this chapter. Chapter 961, Changes in the Sub-World. Almost all dynasties have great emperors. In the entire universe, even the weakest dynasty is likely to have several great emperors. Lu Chen's current dynasty does not even have a great emperor, but only a quasi-emperor. This makes Lu Chen worry that if he continues to expand externally and offends those real dynasties, he may not be able to fight with a quasi-emperor and a few great emperor summoning cards. In the past 2 years, he has sent many people to inquire about the situation in the surrounding star field, and basically understood the situation of their current location. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. The entire Great Xia Dynasty, including the Huangshan Star Territory, is in the Wild Star Territory. The Suzaku Dynasty, which is closest to the Great Xia Dynasty, has been on the road to stardom for almost 3 years. Of course, 3 years is nothing to a cultivator, but because the area where the Great Xia Dynasty is located is too remote, not many cultivators are willing to come even to the Huangshan Star Territory. This resulted in very little communication between the Great Xia Dynasty and the outside world. Occasionally, some cultivators would enter the Huangshan Star Territory. However, after seeing the situation in the Huangshan Star Territory, those cultivators would leave quickly and would not do anything. Stay more. Although the location of the entire Daxia dynasty was somewhat remote, it was a good thing for Lu Chen. No one came, which gave him enough time to develop. Now the entire Daxia dynasty has gradually entered the era of integration of cultivation and technology. The people of the Daxia dynasty are living better and better, and they are increasingly identifying with the Daxia dynasty. Tianchen World. In Yanqing Palace, Murong Shue'er's study room, Murong Shue'er is lying on the desk, holding a brush in his trembling right hand, practicing calligraphy on a piece of paper, but the whole paper is full of crooked words, just like in words written by someone who first learned to write. Murong Shue'er, a talented girl, was able to write such words, naturally thanks to Lu Chen. At this time, Lu Chen was pressing on her buttocks, holding her waist with one hand, and personally teaching Murong Shue'er to write with the other hand. Although Lu Chen often did this in the past 2 years, Lu Chen still enjoyed it. Lu Chen looked at the crooked words on the table and said with a smile, "Shue'er, your talent is too bad, I have taught you everything, how come your handwriting is still so ugly after several years? Have you studied hard? If you keep doing this, I won't teach you anymore." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Murong Shue'er turned her head slightly and looked at Lu Chen with a resentful expression. Murong Shue'er said feebly, "Your Majesty really enjoys it." Murong Shue'er also knows that Lu Chen likes to play pretend, but she has been with Lu Chen for so many years, and Lu Chen is still the same as before. Moreover, now she and Lu Chen no longer go to the palace to do things. Every time Lu Chen comes, he drags her with him. Working in the study room. Either teaching her to write, painting her, or painting gecko patterns on her body, she actually didn't care about it, but she couldn't understand why Lu Chen was so addicted to the study. Now the place where she sleeps has almost become a study room. Fortunately, there is a resting room next to her study room. At this time, Murong Shue'er's fair face showed traces of blush, her whole body was as soft as a bone, and she remained close to Lu Chen. Seeing the charming look of the talented girl, Lu Chen became even more excited, and then he continued to press down, and then said, "Continue to practice, class will not end until you finish writing 500 words today." After the words fell, Lu Chen began to increase the intensity of Murong Shuer. Murong Shuer turned around helplessly, put the brush aside, and lay down on the desk. After an unknown amount of time, a voice sounded in Lu Chen's mind, "Chener, some changes have taken place in my sub-world." Hearing Chu Yukin's voice, Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "What's wrong?" Chu Yukin said, "You will know when you come and take a look." Lu Chen then separated a ray of consciousness and entered Chu Yukin's sub-world. After feeling Lu Chen's movements slow down, Murong Shuer knew that Lu Chen must be doing two things at once. She did not continue howling, but just kept quiet. Lying quietly on the desk, waiting for Lu Chen to concentrate again. At the same time, a ray of Lu Chen's consciousness had entered Chu Yukin's sub-world. As soon as he entered Chu Yukin's sub-world, Lu Chen noticed the changes in the sub-world. As one of the creators of the sub-world, Lu Chen is very clear about the laws of the sub-world. The moment he entered the sub-world, Lu Chen discovered that the time of the sub-world and the original universe were synchronized. In other words, one day in this universe means one day in the sub-world. When the sub-world was first conceived, the sub-world passed within 1 minute of this universe. As the sub-world continues to mature, the time flow rates of the sub-world and this universe are slowly approaching. However, Lu Chen did not expect that the time flow rate in the sub-world and this universe would one day be exactly the same. He thought that there would be some difference in the time flow rate no matter what. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at Chu Yukin's consciousness beside him. "Aunt Chu, you don't feel uncomfortable at all, do you?" "No." Lu Chen glanced at the sub-world below and said, "It's okay, it's just time synchronization, it won't have any impact." Chu Yukin said, "However, when the human emperor and demon emperor made sacrifices recently, they both hoped that I could open the world passage and let them leave the sub-world." Hearing this, Lu Chen frowned and his expression became serious. Lu Chen asked, "Why would they want to leave the child world?" Chu Yukin said, "You will know just by looking at their realm." After hearing what Chu Yukin said, Lu Chen then used his spiritual sense to explore the races in the world. After his exploration, Lu Chen was immediately surprised. Whether it was the human race, the demon race, or other races, many yin-yang realm cultivators were born, and some even had the appearance of breaking through the Wanfa realm. The cultivation speed of the cultivators in the sub-world was far faster than that of the cultivators in this universe. Lu Chen instantly understood what was going on. On the one hand, it was because the laws of the sub-world were already very perfect, and with the continuous growth of the sub-world, the concentration of spiritual energy in the sub-world had far exceeded some life worlds in this universe. Even the higher worlds in the Huangshan star region could not catch up with the concentration of spiritual energy in Chu Yukin's sub-world. The most important thing was that the time flow rate of the sub-world was different from that of the universe at the beginning, and those yin-yang realm cultivators did not know how many years they had practiced. Lu Chen also understood why those people wanted to leave the sub-world. Although the sub-world had various advantages, the biggest problem was that no matter how they practiced, they could not break through to a higher realm, and could only reach the yin-yang realm at most. This is mainly because the growth rate of the sub-world is too slow and cannot keep up with the cultivation speed of those cultivators. The life world of this universe will also suppress the realm of cultivators. Once the realm of cultivators breaks through to a higher level, it can threaten the life world, so the law of heaven will not allow those cultivators to break through to a higher realm. Of course, there are also many cultivators who break through the shackles and break through to the realm restricted by heaven. But the sub-world created by Lu Chen is different. The sub-world has the power of origin, and the suppression of cultivators is absolute. No matter how they struggle, they cannot break through to a higher realm. After the races of the sub-world discovered the restrictions of the sub-world on their cultivation, they had no choice but to ask their mother and father gods to let them out during the sacrifice. End of this chapter. Chapter 962, Constructing the Ascension Exit. At this time, Lu Chen frowned, and his consciousness was quietly observing the cultivators in the world below. Lu Chen didn't know whether he should release the lives of the subworld into this universe. If these people were allowed to leave the subworld, he didn't know what kind of harm they would bring to the mother body. Lu Chen also understands why these monks want to leave the subworld, because their time is coming soon, and all cultivators want to break through to a higher realm and pursue immortality. These beings in the subworld are also his children. It would be a bit too selfish to trap them in the subworld all the time. For a moment, Lu Chen couldn't make up his mind. After being silent for a while, Lu Chen directly tattooed the system in his heart. System, after these beings in the child world leave the child world, will they cause any harm to the mother body? The system replied, no, they were born in the world created by the host and their wives. They have left the life marks of the host and the mother on their bodies. If they betray the mother and the host one day, the host can eliminate them with just one thought. Them. Lu Chen continued to ask, what if they break through to the realm of the Great Emperor? After breaking through to the realm of the Great Emperor, the body will no longer be able to restrain the Great Emperor. The Great Emperor can get rid of many controls. Even if he possesses the Emperor's natal essence and blood, he cannot control the Great Emperor. Lu Chen was worried that after these people from the subworld came to this universe, if one day they broke through to the realm of the Great Emperor, they would be lawless and even attack his father god. The system understood Lu Chen's concerns, so it continued to answer, the life marks on their bodies are condensed from the original power. Even if they break through and become the Great Emperor, they will be affected by the life marks. Lu Chen thought for a moment, if that was the case, then he wouldn't have to worry about the beings in the subworld betraying him. Seeing that Lu Chen had been in a daze, Chu Yukin sighed slightly and said, they just want to pursue immortality, and there is nothing wrong with it. After all, these people are all beings born in the subworld. As their mother goddess, Chu Yukin also has a hint of motherly love for them. She does not want to watch the beings in the subworld trapped and die in the subworld, especially those who are born in the subworld. Beings with the talent for cultivation. But whether to release these lives or not, she cannot make the decision alone. Lu Chen is the father god and one of the creators. Only when Lu Chen speaks can Chu Yukin release the life of the child world. Chu Yukin saw that Lu Chen didn't speak for a long time and his expression was a little solemn, thinking that he didn't want these lives to leave his control. Just when Chu Yukin was about to continue persuading, Lu Chen said, in the future, we will add another law of heaven. Anyone who can successfully overcome the tribulation will be able to ascend to the subworld. Seeing that Lu Chen agreed, Chu Yukin breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Chen continued, set the entrance to the ascension passage in Tianchen world. After they ascend, they can first familiarize themselves with the conditions of this universe in Tianchen world. Lu Chen plans to build Tianchen world into the upper realm for those monks in the subworld to ascend. The monks who can ascend are all in the 10,000 Dharma realm. When a large number of monks from the subworld ascend in the future, the overall strength of Tianchen world will inevitably increase significantly. Chu Yukin said, okay. After the words fell, Chu Yukin mobilized her power to add a new law of heaven to the subworld. All monks who reached the 9th level of the Yin-Yang realm will encounter a heavenly tribulation. As long as they successfully overcome the tribulation, they can ascend to the upper world and leave the subworld. As soon as Chu Yukin finished supplementing the law of heaven, the sky above the world was immediately filled with black clouds, and the next moment countless purple sky thunders rushed among the black clouds. The Yin-Yang monks in the subworld who were practicing in seclusion all opened their eyes, and their faces were filled with excitement. Just now, they all got a piece of information from heaven, that is, as long as they can survive the catastrophe, they can ascend to the upper world. They don't know where the upper world is, but they know that as long as they leave this subworld, they can break through to a higher realm, thereby breaking the shackles of life and having a longer life. Some yin-yang monks who were not in retreat quickly gathered their tribesmen and spread the news. Soon, the monks in the subworld knelt on the ground and bowed to the sky. They understood that it was their Father God and Mother God who took the initiative to unlock the confinement of this world. When the monks in these subworlds were bowing to the sky, Lu Chen immediately felt an original power pouring into his body, and Chu Yukin's subworld also had more luck at this moment. This is the first time that Lu Chen has obtained so much original power. Just by receiving these original powers, Lu Chen's cultivation can't help but make breakthroughs. Seeing that he had made a breakthrough, Lu Chen immediately withdrew his consciousness and stabilized his cultivation. Murong Shuer, who was lying on the desk, also felt the crazily growing aura in Lu Chen's body. Murong Shuer's delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. This guy actually broke through again, so wouldn't he be even more ferocious next? Lu Chen calmed down the restless spiritual power in his body, and after stabilizing his cultivation, he lowered his head and looked at Murong Shuer's jade back. The next moment, he strengthened Murong Shuer without any warning. Murong Shuer was forced to resist forcefully. Lu Chen didn't stay in Murong Shuer's study for too long. After he relaxed, he went to Chu Yukin's bland room. When Lu Chen came to Chu Yukin's bedroom, Chu Yukin was still running around and sitting on the couch, closing her eyes to feel the tribulation of the cultivators in the subworld. After realizing that Lu Chen was coming, Chu Yukin opened her eyes. Lu Chen spoke first, "Aunt Chu, I plan to build an island on the sea as an exit for the cultivators in the subworld to ascend. After all, those cultivators are cultivators in the subworld and don't know much about this universe. If they appear in various places in the Tianchen world right away without anyone to guide them, it is likely to cause some confusion." Chu Yukin said, "Well, that's fine, let's do it now, someone is about to succeed in tribulation." As soon as Chu Yukin finished speaking, Lu Chen raised his hand and waved, and the next moment, the two of them appeared on the sea. Looking at the boundless sea, Lu Chen directly used his spiritual consciousness to communicate with the heavenly Dao of the Tianchen world, asking the heavenly Dao to build an island on this sea. The heavenly Dao of the Tianchen world did not hesitate at all and immediately reshaped the terrain of this sea area. Soon the earth's crust lifted, and a huge island appeared in this sea area. Rather than calling it an island, it is better to call it a new continent. The area of this island is almost catching up with the area of Daxia when Lu Chen was reincarnated in this world. After the island appeared, there were only stones and mud. The heavenly Dao continued to exert its strength. In just a blink of an eye, the entire island was covered with green plants and abundant spiritual energy. The heavenly Dao also transferred some animals and spirit beasts from other parts of this world to this island. Looking at the vibrant island below, Lu Chen said, "From now on, this is the exit for the ascension of the subworld cultivators. Aunt Chu, you quickly set up the ascension exit on this island." "Okay." Chu Yukin closed her eyes and directly built an exit of the transmission channel on the island. In the future, after the cultivators in her subworld break through, they will be sent to this island by the heavenly Dao of the subworld. End of this chapter. Chapter 963 The First Batch of Ascenders. After Chu Yukin built the ascension exit of the subworld, she turned to look at Lu Chen and asked, "Chener, why don't you give this island a name?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and said with a smile, "From now on, this island will be called Feizheng Island." Chu Yukin glanced at Lu Chen faintly. Chu Yukin thought in her heart that choosing a famous name was really random, but thinking that the function of this island was just to welcome the monks who ascended, she felt that there was nothing wrong with choosing a more straightforward name. Thinking of this, Chu Yukin raised her hand, pulled out a boulder dozens of meters high from the ground, and then used her spiritual power to carve the words Ascension Island on the boulder. After doing all this, Chu Yukin realized that two people in the subworld had already passed through the heavenly tribulation, so she said to Lu Chen, "Chener, 2 people have already passed through the heavenly tribulation. Let's guide them now. Come to Ascension Island. Lu Chen said, okay, let them stay on Ascension Island for a while. After a while, I will arrange for someone to take them to the inland city. Seeing that Lu Chen agreed, Chu Yukin immediately asked the heavenly way of the subworld to guide the 2 monks who had successfully overcome the tribulation to the exit. As 2 blue rays of light emitted from the exit, 2 figures also appeared on Ascension Island. As soon as the 2 arrived at Ascension Island, their old faces changed a lot. In just a moment, the wrinkles on their faces disappeared, and they suddenly looked like they were 30 or 40 years old. After feeling the changes in their bodies, the 2 of them suddenly felt excited. Zhang Yuz looked at everything around him curiously. Is this the upper world? Such a strong spiritual energy. Jinan, who was beside Zhang Yuz, said, I really didn't expect that Sect Master Zhang would be the first to ascend. Zhang Yuz turned to look at Jinan and said with a smile, it doesn't make any difference who ascends first or who ascends last. Why should the Supreme Emperor care about this? Jinan said, what the Great Emperor, we have left the lower world. From now on, Sect Leader Zhang should still call me Taoist friend. Zhang Yuz was not polite and said directly, well, fellow Daoist Ji does not need to call me Sect Master Zhang. After leaving the lower realm, I will no longer be the sect master of Tianmen sect. Having said this, Zhang Yuz continued to scan the surroundings, but speaking of which, why does the upper world look so desolate? Apart from the stronger spiritual energy, it doesn't seem to be much different from the lower world. Jinan said, indeed, but there are no rules in this world. We can break through to a higher realm by practicing in the upper realm. At this time, both of them were focused on Feizheng Island and did not notice Lu Chen and Chu Yukin in the sky at all. At this time, the 2 released their spiritual consciousness and planned to explore the situation on Ascension Island. The next moment, they suddenly noticed a familiar aura. The 2 suddenly looked up at the sky, and they recognized Lu Chen and Chu Yukin with just a glance. After all, the sculptures of Father God and Mother God were all over the subworld, and it was difficult for them to recognize them. Seeing that it was Father God and Mother God, Jinan and Zhang Yuz did not hesitate at all and quickly knelt on the ground, greetings to Father God and Mother God. They did not expect to see the Father God and the Mother God right after they ascended. When they thought of the content recorded in the child world about the punishment from the Father God and the Mother God, the 2 of them could not help but tremble. Chu Yukin said softly, everyone, get up. After hearing Chu Yukin's words, Jinan and Zhang Yuz still did not dare to stand up immediately. The Mother Goddess spoke, but the Father God has not spoken yet. If they stood up at this time, wouldn't they be challenging the Father God's authority? Seeing that the 2 of them hadn't gotten up yet, Lu Chen also said, get up, you guys still want to keep kneeling down. Facing the coercion emanating from Lu Chen, the 2 of them became even more frightened, but they still held on to their bodies and slowly stood up. Thank you, Godfather, and thank God, Mother. Chu Yukin continued, congratulations on successfully overcoming the tribulation and officially embarking on the road to immortality. At this time, Jinan and Zhang Yuz couldn't help but think that if the Father God and the Mother God appeared here, could there be something for them to do? Just when Jinan was about to ask, Lu Chen said, you should stabilize your realm on Ascension Island first. In a few days, I will have someone take you to the inland city and explain everything about this world to you. Jinan and Zhang Yuz said in unison, thank you, Father God. Lu Chen then said, okay, that's it. If there are other monks flying up later, you 2 should tell them not to run around and stabilize their realm first. Yes. Father God. Lu Chen then waved his hand and returned to Yanchen's palace with Chu Yukin. After returning to Chu Yukin's palace, Lu Chen thought of something, so he said, Aunt Chu, I plan to set up an organization to take care of those monks who ascended from the sub-world. Otherwise, I will leave this organization to you. What do you think? Lu Chen has so many wives and concubines. Now each of them has given birth to a sub-world, and monks have been born in several sub-worlds. It won't be long before more monks will ascend to the Tianchen world. With so many ascended people, without a unified management organization, problems would easily arise. Lu Chen didn't want to see those ascended people make Tianchen world a mess. Chu Yukin thought for a while and said, there should indeed be a unified management organization. I can help you manage it for the time being. However, when the number of ascendants increases in the future, it is best to leave this organization to the Daxia court. Chu Yukin thought that there would definitely be monks from other subworlds ascending in the future. After each monk from each subworld ascended, it was very likely that different factions would be formed due to the differences in the subworlds before the ascension. If she was always asked to manage the ascenders, the monks who ascended from Lu Chen's other wives and concubines subworlds might have some complaints, so she was not suitable for long-term management. However, the ascender management organization is still in its infancy, so it is not a problem for her to help Lu Chen manage it temporarily. After all, the monks who ascended now are all from their own sub-worlds. Lu Chen said, okay, I will ask someone to set up an Ascender Management Association now. After the voice fell, Lu Chen sent a message to Yin Zhenjai. At the same time, on the Ascension Island, Zhang Yuz and Jinan were greatly relieved when they saw Lu Chen and Chu Yukin leave. They had only heard about how majestic the Father God and the Mother God were before, and they really thought that the Father God and the Mother God were so fierce. But when they saw them just now, they found that the Father God and the Mother God did not seem to be as majestic as they imagined. Zhang Yuz looked at Jinan and said, Ji Daiyu, it seems that we have a big misunderstanding about the Father God and the Mother God. Jinan said, after all, we have heard of them from history books and have never seen them before. It is normal to have some misunderstandings. Speaking of this, Jinan sat cross-legged, I don't know when the Father God will send someone to pick us up. Zhang Yuz used his spiritual sense to explore the surrounding situation and found that they were in a sea. He said with some concern, are the Father God and the Mother God going to let us stay in this place forever? Jinan quickly reminded, Zhang Daiyu, be careful. After Zhang Yuz reacted, he was immediately shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. He speculated on the intentions of the Father God and the Mother God behind his back. If he angered them, it would be troublesome. Although from the contact just now, the Father God and the Mother God were not so cruel, they were the existence that controlled life and death after all. Zhang Yuz quickly stopped talking and just waited quietly for the arrival of the guide. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 964, The Popular Ascender. After Zhang Yuz and Jinan calmed down and stabilized their cultivation, a blue light emanated from the ascension exit not long after. Feeling someone coming up, the two opened their eyes at the same time. Seeing the person coming, Zhang Yuz and Jinan's faces darkened slightly. The person coming was not a human, but the ancestor of the demon clan, Hu Xingyi. Seeing Jinan and Zhang Yuz, Hu Xingyi's face darkened, I didn't expect that you two juniors would get there first. Zhang Yuz suddenly thought of something at this time, and a smile appeared on his face. The demon clan has always said that they are cared for by the Father God and the Mother God, and they claim to be orthodox, so why are they not the first to ascend? Hu Xingyi snorted coldly and said, who ascends first or later, what difference does it make? You ascended first, but you are still guarding here. Zhang Yuz said, that's not necessarily true. You probably don't know yet, the Father God and the Mother God were here just now. If you came up earlier, you might have seen the Father God and the Mother God. What a pity, what a pity. Hearing Zhang Yuz's words, Hu Xingyi was stunned for a moment. Impossible. How could the Father God and the Mother God appear here? In Hu Xingyi's mind, gods are all high and mighty, and generally will not show up for a little thing. Seeing Hu Xingyi's unbelievable look, Zhang Yuz suddenly felt very happy. Since the human race was punished for making mistakes, the status of the human race in the lower world has become lower and lower, and the demon race has risen as a result, becoming the largest race in the lower world. The demon race always said that they were loved by the Father God and the Mother God, and were the darlings of heaven. Now their ancestors ascended to the upper world but did not even see the Father God and the Mother God. How could Zhang Yuz feel unhappy? After Zhang Yuz laughed for a while, he was about to say something, but Jinan interrupted and said, "The Father God asked us to stay here to remind the subsequent cultivators who ascended to the Ascension Island to stabilize their cultivation first. He will send someone to pick us up to the inland city in a few days." After hearing Jinan's words, Hu Xingyi's face became even uglier. Jinan would not dare to falsely convey the will of the gods, unless the human race wanted to be exterminated. So, did the Father God and the Mother God really appear here before? When he thought about how late he came, Hu Xingyi regretted not breaking through earlier. After hearing that he could ascend, he did not choose to pass the calamity immediately, but told the descendants of the demon clan some things. After all, he would probably never be able to go back after ascending. Unexpectedly, it was because of his actions that he missed the opportunity to meet the Father God and the Mother God. Although he was a little depressed, Hu Xingyi had to run errands and began to practice to consolidate his cultivation. He thought that since he had ascended to the upper realm, the Father God and the Mother God should also be in the upper realm, and he would definitely have the opportunity to meet the Father God and the Mother God in the future. Of course, he could only comfort himself like this now. Seeing Hu Xingyi's uncomfortable look, Jinan and Zhang Yuz felt relieved. A few days later, more and more sub-world monks ascended to the Ascension Island. After stabilizing their cultivation, these monks became more and more curious about the Tianquan world and wanted to leave the Ascension Island to see other places. However, when they thought of what Jinan and Zhang Yuz said, they only dared to stay on the Ascension Island. Some people thought that they were idle, so they started to build houses on the Ascension Island. As more and more people came, a small town was formed on the Ascension Island. One morning a month later, when it was still grey, a monk suddenly shouted loudly, "Look at the sky, what is that?" Although Chu Yukin's subworld had already entered the era of cultivation, there was no spiritual weapon such as the Ascension flying boat. It was the first time for the monks present to see the flying boat. Soon the flying boat came to the sky above the Ascension Island, and the monks on the Ascension Island also gathered together, wanting to see if the Father God had sent someone to take them to the inland city. As the flying boat slowly landed on the Ascension Island, people became more and more excited. They could finally leave the island and see this wider world. After the flying boat landed, Yin Zhenjai got off the flying boat and looked at the cultivators present. Yin Zhenjai couldn't help but sigh in his heart, worthy of being the master. The cultivators from the small world have actually reached the realm of all laws. Lu Chen simply told Yin Zhenjai about the ascended cultivators. At this time, Yin Zhenjai thought that these cultivators were all ascended from Lu Chen's small world. Yin Zhenjai glanced at the cultivators present and said, "In accordance with the order of the Emperor of Heaven, I will take you to the inland city of the Great Xia Dynasty. But before that, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven has prepared a small gift for you, which can help you understand the entire Tianquan world faster." At this point, Yin Zhenjai took out a book emitting golden light from the space ring. Then Yin Zhenjai used his spiritual power to send these books to Zhang Yuz and other ascenders, and each person had a book in front of him. Seeing the books in front of them, people were very curious. What did the Father God give them the books for? Could it be some kind of practice? Thinking that it might be some high-level technique, Zhang Yuz picked up the book floating in front of him without hesitation and opened it. The moment he opened the book turned into a golden light and entered his forehead. The next moment, some things about the Tianquan world appeared in Zhang Yuz's mind. Zhang Yuz instantly understood what kind of world the Tianquan world was and what kind of existence their father and mother gods were. When the other monks saw Zhang Yuz opening the book, they also opened the book in front of them. After a while, all the ascendants present had a rough understanding of the world of Tianquan. After receiving the knowledge in the book, the monks present saluted and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for the reward." Yin Zhenjai then said, "Okay, come with me." Immediately afterwards, Yin Zhenjai asked some people from the Ascended Persons Management Association to stay, and he took the Ascended Persons present to a coastal city in the Great Xia Dynasty. When the flying boat first entered the coastal city, Zhang Yuz and the others were stunned by the scene in front of them. There were huge ships along the coast, and the city was dotted with high-rise buildings, and the wide roads extending in all directions were filled with cars. Through the inheritance book Lu Chen gave them just now, they already understood what they saw, but seeing it with their own eyes still made them feel extremely novel and shocking. Not long after, the flying boat landed next to a building. Yin Zhenjai was just about to take the monks on the flying boat to register their identities, when he saw countless people from sects and companies surrounding him. "Are you interested in joining Genexi mining? 100 low-grade spiritual stones per month and many benefits. Come to our new moon sect and become an elder. Our new moon sect elders will receive spiritual stone dividends every year. Do you want to come to Qingshui College to be a teacher? Teachers from our college all have the opportunity to enter the Royal Academy for further studies. Come to us, come to us." For a moment, there was a commotion below the flying boat. Seeing this scene, Yin Zhenjai was speechless. These forces are too anxious. Although the Emperor of Heaven has said that the ascended people can join any force, they should at least let him register their identities for them. Seeing that no one could get out, Yin Zhenjai shouted directly, "Everyone, get out of the way. The Emperor of Heaven has issued an order. All ascended people need to register their identity before entering the world of Tianchen." After hearing Yin Zhenjai's words, the people present became quiet. They had to make way first and watched Yin Zhenjai bring these people into the building of the Ascended Persons Management Association. End of chapter. Chapter 965 Crazy Flame arrives. Xia Dynasty. Yancheng Imperial Palace, Imperial Study Room. Lu Chen is now a saint, and he knows everything that happens in the Tianchen world without the need for Jin Yiwei to report it. Seeing that the Ascended Ones were being recruited by major forces as soon as they registered and left the Ascending One Management Association, a smile gradually appeared on Lu Chen's face. At this time, there was another person in the Imperial Study Room. Chu Yukin was sitting next to Lu Chen, holding a pen in his hand and drafting some rules for ascendants to abide by in a notebook. Lu Chen glanced at the content written on Chu Yukin's book with the corner of his eyes, and then said, "I was worried just now that the ascended monks would have difficulty integrating into this world. I didn't expect that they would be attracted by major forces as soon as they registered their identities." Chu Yukin said while busy with what she was doing, "Those who ascended are all cultivators of the 10,000 Dharma realm. The cultivators of the 10,000 Dharma realm are the targets of any force. It is not difficult for them to integrate into this world. What I'm more worried about is that as the number of ascended people increases, whether a faction dominated by ascended people will form in the future, thus causing trouble to the Great Xia Dynasty. After Tianchen world's spiritual energy recovered, the cultivation level of the monks in Tianchen world has been greatly improved, but there are still not many monks in the 10,000 Dharma realm. Although there are many monks in the 10,000 Dharma realm in the Huangshan Star region, most of the monks in the Huangshan Star region are not qualified to enter the Tianchen world. Considering that the Tianchen world is his base camp, Lu Chen has set a series of admission conditions, so the Tianchen world monks' the overall strength is still relatively weak. As the number of ascended people increases, they will inevitably control all walks of life in the Tianchen world. On the one hand, Chu Yukin is worried that the ascended people will form gangs, and on the other hand, she is worried that as the number of ascended people increases, after that, the local cultivators in Tianchen world will have conflicts with the ascended ones. Lu Chen thought for a while and then said, "Don't worry, I will gradually release the blockade of Tianchen world. From now on, monks from the Huangshan Star region will also be able to enter Tianchen world. And these ascended ones are all from your sub-world. The monks in the subworld all have the mark of life. We have complete control over their life and death. The more ascended ones, the better it is for us. Chu Yukin asked curiously, mark of life? Lu Chen said directly, close your eyes and use your spiritual consciousness to explore. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Chu Yukin immediately closed her eyes. As her consciousness spread, she soon discovered that there were dozens of green dots scattered throughout the coastal city. There seemed to be some strange connection between these green dots and her, as if she could influence their life or death with just one thought. Chu Yukin was a little surprised. Is this the mark of life? Lu Chen continued, they were all born in the subworld, and the subworld is a world created by us. Not only do they have the mark of life, they also carry the cause and effect of our creation, so you don't have to worry too much about what trouble they will cause. Lu Chen understood why Chu Yukin was so worried that the ascended person would cause trouble. After all, a demon appeared in Chu Yukin's subworld. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Chu Yukin finally felt relieved. If they could control the life and death of those who ascended, they wouldn't have to worry too much about them causing trouble. At this time, Lu Chen turned his head and looked at Chu Yukin. Chu Yukin was wearing a green half-slit green cheongsam. Her plump figure held up the cheongsam completely. She had a half-crown bun on her head. She was very charming. Save, mature and dignified. Lu Chen suddenly thought about it. Now he would not suppress his desires. As long as he had an idea, he would do it directly. At this time, Lu Chen stretched out his hand, put his big hand on Chu Yukin's thigh, and said with a smile, "Madam, you have worked hard, why don't you take a rest?" Chu Yukin turned her head and glanced at Lu Chen quietly, and then said, "It won't take too long, I still need to draft the regulations for the management of ascended persons." Seeing that Chu Yukin agreed, Lu Chen didn't hesitate at all. He stood up and let Chu Yukin lie on the desk in the imperial study room. As time passed, some monks in Musician's world also ascended, and the number of ascended people in Tianchen world increased rapidly. Lu Chen also gradually relaxed the restrictions of Tianchen world, and gradually many forces from the Huangshan Star region also moved to Tianchen world. Although Tianchen world is located in a wild star field, and it is still a very remote wild star field, the concentration of spiritual energy in Tianchen world after Lu Chen's transformation has far exceeded that of some advanced cultivation worlds, even those in the Huangshan Star territory. The concentration of spiritual energy cannot keep up with that of Tianchen world. Moreover, Tianchen world is a growing world. Tianchen world is constantly absorbing world fragments in the void to strengthen itself, and the concentration of spiritual energy is also constantly increasing. No one can say whether Tianchen world will become an existence similar to a holy land if it continues to grow. The Holy Land here does not refer to a force like the Black Dragon Holy Land. The Holy Land here refers to a place where the spiritual energy concentration is much higher than that of the advanced cultivation world. Most of these holy places are worlds developed by some powerful emperors. Not all emperors and strong men can create such holy places. Emperors are also divided into 3, 6, or 9 levels, and only the one with the top strength can. Only the great emperors had the strength to create holy lands. In the blink of an eye, 10 years have passed. The outskirts of the Huangshan Star territory. An immortal boat was flying towards the Chaos Star Sea at the fastest speed. At this time, an immortal boat carrying the flag of the Great Xia Dynasty's dragon army blocked the immortal boat that was about to go to the Chaos Star Sea. Seeing an immortal boat appearing in front of him, Kuang Yan's face darkened instantly. He had never encountered anyone who dared to stop him along the way. Kuang Yan immediately stopped the immortal boat and stood on the deck of the immortal boat, releasing the pressure of the 8th level of the Ruins realm from his body. "If you dare to stop me, have you figured out how to die?" As soon as Kuang Yan finished speaking, the patrolling ferry boat of the War Dragon army also released a coercion that was not weaker than Kuang Yan. Kuang Yan was slightly startled. This was already a remote star field, but there were actually monks at the 8th level of the ruins realm? The next moment, a soldier wearing golden armor flew into the void, looked at Kuang Yan and said, "Who are you? Why do you want to enter the Huangshan Star territory, and where are you going?" Seeing this man's attire, Kuang Yan frowned. It was obvious that the man was not an ordinary monk. Judging from the armor he was wearing, he should be a general from a certain dynasty. But isn't this nearby the Wild Star territory? Why? Will there be a dynasty? Kuang Yan did not answer the question, but asked instead, "Who are you? Why are you blocking my way?" Tang Ziping said, "You have entered the star domain ruled by the Great Xia Dynasty. We have the right to interrogate you. Please explain your identity and purpose of coming immediately, otherwise we will use force against you." Hearing Tang Ziping's words, Kuang Yan's expression became even more ugly. He couldn't help but feel a little angry. How could there really be a dynasty in this barren star field? What a bullshit dynasty, there probably aren't even saints in this place. Although he was very unhappy at being stopped, Kuang Yan finally decided to cooperate when he thought that his mission was important. He has already failed a mission. If he doesn't quickly complete the next assassination mission, he may only be wiped out. End of chapter. Chapter 966 The True Power of the Vulcan Cannon. After Kuang Yan calmed down his inner emotions, he said to Tang Ziping, "I am just passing by this star field and I don't plan to stay." Hearing Kuang Yan's answer, Tang Ziping narrowed his eyes slightly. "Not planning to stay? If you leave the Huangshan star field and continue to move forward, the Chaos Star Sea is ahead. If you don't stay in the Huangshan star field, it means that this person is going to the Chaos Star Sea." What is the Chaos Star Sea? It is the foundation of the Great Xia Dynasty. Even the cultivators of the Huangshan star field must be reviewed before they can enter. How can an outsider be allowed to enter the Chaos Star Sea? Tang Ziping said coldly, "After leaving the Huangshan star field, you can only see the Black Domain if you continue to move forward. Although I don't know where this Taoist friend is going, for the sake of your safety, please go back." Kuang Yan frowned. He obviously heard that this person just didn't want him to move forward. At this time, Kuang Yan did not connect the person in front of him with Lu Chen. Although he did not know why this person did not let him pass, this person's strength was at least at the 8th level of Gigzu realm. Lu Chen was just a native of the lower world, and it was impossible for him to have a relationship with the 8th level of Gigzu realm cultivator. However, this 8th level of Gigzu realm cultivator blocked the way, and it was still difficult to break through directly. If he could not pass this level, he would not be able to go to Tianchen world, let alone kill Lu Chen. Kuang Yan tried to calm down his emotions, and tried to force a smile on his face and said, "My fellow deist, I really have something urgent to do. Can you please help me? If there is a black area ahead, I will never be able to get out after entering the black area, and that would be bad luck for me." After hearing what Kuang Yan said, Tang Ziping basically confirmed that this person was heading for the Chaos Star Sea and the Tianchen world, and then said, "I'm sorry, Our Majesty has ordered that outsiders are not allowed to enter the Huangshan Star region." Seeing that Tang Ziping was unwilling to give way, Kuang Yan's face darkened instantly. "Do you have to go against me, fellow deist?" Kuang Yan's anger was completely ignited. What was going on? He had not encountered any immortal boats from any dynasty that would stop him along the way. He was almost at the mission site, but was blocked by a wild chicken dynasty that he had never heard of. Seeing that Kuang Yan's momentum was getting stronger and stronger, Tang Ziping did not hesitate at all and directly sent a message to the War Dragon army patrolling the nearby star region. In order to prevent some enemies from entering the Huangshan Star region, some worlds outside the Huangshan Star region have built sentinels. As long as the patrol team discovers the enemy invasion, they will immediately notify the strong men in charge of these sentinels. With Tang Ziping's 8th level cultivation in the Gigzu realm, he can be regarded as a strong man in the Zhanlong army. However, Tang Ziping is worried that the opponent is as strong as himself. What if the opponent has some means to escape directly? So it is better to ask for help and find more people. After asking for help, Tang Ziping did not attack Kuang Yan immediately. Instead, he returned to the Xianzhou and shouted, "There is an enemy invasion, prepare to use the Vulcan cannon." As soon as Tang Ziping's voice fell, the Zhanlong army soldiers on the Xianzhou immediately took action. Soon the Xianzhou's protective barrier opened, and several huge gun barrels appeared in front of the Xianzhou. Seeing that the opponent did not attack him, but ran back to the Xianzhou, Kuang Yan was stunned for a while, not knowing what Tang Ziping was doing. At this moment, Kuang Yan suddenly felt his heart beating very fast, and his brain instantly realized that there was danger approaching. What's going on? Kuang Yan was even more puzzled. He quickly released his spiritual power and explored the surrounding star fields. He still did not find any strong men approaching except the captain of Gigzu realm. Since there were no other strong men, how could he feel dangerous? Just as Kuang Yan was carefully observing the situation around him, the muzzle of the Zhanlong army Xianzhou fired a heavenly rune shell. Seeing the iron ball approaching quickly in the distance, Kuang Yan suddenly reacted. What made him panic was the iron ball. He quickly released his Dharma image and then slashed with his sword. When the iron ball came into contact with Kuang Yan's sword energy, it exploded instantly. The next moment, a huge fireball appeared in the void. The Vulcan cannon carried by the Zhanlong army on the Xianzhou is an enhanced version of the Vulcan cannon. Its power is more than a little bit greater than that of the roadbed version. In addition, the person who controls the Vulcan cannon is a cultivator of the 8th level of Gigzu realm, so the power of the heavenly burst rune can be fully released. After one shot, even a Gigzu realm cultivator would feel uncomfortable. Of course, Tang Ziping did not expect the Vulcan cannon to easily kill a Gigzu realm strongman. Nowadays, the main function of the Vulcan cannon is consumption, especially in the void. The spiritual power of the Gigzu realm cultivator cannot be replenished in time. If it is still consumed in large quantities by the Vulcan cannon, the next battle of the War Dragon army will be much easier. At this time, Kuang Yan resisted a Vulcan cannon and was in a very bad state. Although he blocked it, he still suffered some backlash. Kuang Yan stared at the black muzzle in the distance with a fierce look in his eyes. What the hell is this? It can even hurt him, a Gigzu realm cultivator. How can there be such a powerful spiritual weapon in such a remote place? In Kuang Yan's opinion, the other party used a spiritual weapon of the earth level, or even the heaven level, but he couldn't figure out how such a rare spiritual weapon could be in the hands of a patrol lieutenant. It seems that the person he met is not an ordinary person. Kuang Yan no longer hesitated. He controlled the Dharma image behind him and slashed out with another sword. Purple flame knife. When this sword went out, the sword energy instantly burned with blazing purple flames. The purple flames distorted the surrounding space. The power can be imagined. However, Tang Ziping did not panic at all. He once again controlled the Vulcan cannon on the immortal boat and fired 3 heaven-level rune shells in succession. When the heaven-level rune shells collided with the sword energy, they exploded instantly, and 3 huge fireballs immediately appeared in the void. When the aftermath of the explosion dissipated, Kuang Yan found that the immortal boat in the void was actually intact. Kuang Yan's face became even uglier. The opponent's spiritual weapon was too powerful. And he had a feeling that the opponent did not use his full strength at all. Kuang Yan's feeling was not wrong. Kuang Yan used swordsmanship, which consumed his own spiritual power. Although Tang Ziping also needed to consume spiritual power when activating the burst rune, the spiritual power consumed was very small. After the burst rune was activated, it could produce huge power. If Kuang Yan cannot destroy the immortal boat controlled by Tang Ziping in the first place, and Tang Ziping continues to consume it, then Tang Ziping is likely to consume all the spiritual power in Kuang Yan's body. Kuang Yan was determined not to continue like this. If this mission also failed, he would have no place to stay. Fight! The next moment, Kuang Yan's humanoid image also burned with purple flames. Tang Ziping realized that something was wrong in an instant and flew out of the immortal boat immediately. The next moment, a huge humanoid image also appeared behind Tang Ziping. End of this chapter. Chapter 967. Can your consciousness enter King Kaiyu and number 039's subworld? Tang Ziping could clearly feel the mad flames burning his soul. With the strong man in the ruins realm burning his soul, the Vulcan cannon was somewhat powerless. If they continue to use the Vulcan cannon to resist Kuang Yan's next attack, their immortal boat and the Vulcan cannon carried by the immortal boat will be destroyed. If a ferry boat was destroyed, he would have to write a report when he got back. As the patrol captain of the Dragon War Army, Tang Ziping was not afraid of anything but writing a report. After Tang Ziping released the Dharma appearance, he immediately activated the Dharma appearance, preparing to resist Kuang Yan's next blow. However, before he could take action, a powerful aura from a distance suddenly descended on the star field instantly. Feeling this aura, Kuang Yan's expression changed drastically. There are actually saints in this place where birds don't shit. How is this possible? After Kuang Yan came back to his senses, he struck directly with his sword in the direction of the aura. However, the sword aura he swung was instantly blocked by the person coming. Seeing this, Quan Jun didn't hesitate at all, and fled directly into the distance. Even the saint came out. If he continued, he would definitely not be his opponent. Life is still important, and the green hills are still there, and he is not afraid of running out of firewood. As long as he can survive, it will be the same when the time comes to bypass this star field and go to Tianchen world from other places. And these people are not staying here all the time. Maybe they will leave soon after he leaves. It took 10 years to get here from Tianyuan world. It is not impossible to wait a few more months, as long as the task can be completed. The speed of Quan Jun was very fast. Just when he thought he was about to escape from the Huangshan star territory, a saint-level pressure came again. Kuang Yan felt very regretful in his heart. If he had known earlier, he should not have taken action against Swanyu Palace. The last time he attacked Swanyu Palace, he had used his boundary-breaking talisman. Now he could only resist forcefully when he encountered danger. In this situation, he can only fight to see if he can find another chance to escape. His speed is definitely not as fast as that of the saint, and the saint will also block the space, so the probability of him escaping is very small. But if he could hurt the saint, he wouldn't have no chance at all. Kuang Yan immediately turned around and released the Dharma appearance again. After the Dharma appearance's body came out, Kuang Yan immediately activated the Dharma appearance, condensed a huge fist in the void, and punched the saint flying towards him. A saint is a saint after all. At this moment, a sword energy containing destructive sword intent flew over from a distance. Before the mad flames had time to burn his soul, the sword energy directly passed through his body. The next moment behind him was the Dharma image fell apart and his body gradually dissipated. However, Kuang Yan suddenly discovered at this moment that the opponent did not seem to block the space. Kuang Yan's soul immediately escaped and synchronized the memory to his main body. In just a moment, his main body sensed what happened here. Xia Dynasty. Lu Yanghua territory. Underneath a certain prosperous city, there was a huge underground palace. In the underground palace, Kuang Yan suddenly opened his eyes. After receiving the memory of the separated soul, Kuang Yan was instantly filled with panic. He ignored the serious injuries on his body and stood up immediately. If His Highness knows that I have not completed the task, I will definitely be dealt with. No, I must leave the Xia Dynasty quickly before His Highness knows about it. Thinking of this, Kuang Yan didn't hesitate at all. He directly used the disguise technique to change his face, and then dragged his seriously injured body step by step towards the outside of the underground palace. Although the cultivation of Kuang Guian's main body was affected by the secondary body, he still had the cultivation of the 5th level of Ruins realm. If he wanted to complete the mission, he still had another chance. But this is his main body, and he will not take this risk. If his main body encounters the same situation, he will really die. Moreover, he also has to guard against Lu Yanghua killing the donkey, so running away is his only choice now. His life essence and blood are always in him. As long as he escapes from the star domain ruled by the Xia Dynasty, Lu Yanghua will take. There was nothing he could do. However, as soon as Kuangyan left the world he was in, more than a dozen monks at the 7th or 8th level of the ruins realm surrounded him. Seeing these people, Kuangyan's face instantly turned pale. "Who are you?" The leading monk said with a half-smile, "Commander Quanjun, where are you planning to go?" Kuangyan said coldly, "Wherever I go, it's not your turn to take care of it." As soon as Kuangyan finished speaking, Luo Yuan said, "Isn't it because Commander Kuangyan failed his mission that he plans to escape from the Xia Dynasty?" Hearing this, Kuangyan broke into cold sweat all over his body, and he instantly understood what was going on. "I'm afraid that when he was sent out by Lu Yanghua to perform the mission, Lu Yanghua had someone find his true body and kept guarding his true body. Looking at it like this, whether the mission is completed or failed, he may be silenced. After all, the person Lu Yanghua asked him to kill was the son of Emperor Shen Yu." Kuangyan pretended to be calm and said, "I have completed the task and am planning to report to His Highness." Luo Yuan said, "Okay, then please ask Commander Quanjun to accompany us to meet His Highness." Kuangyan forced out a smile and said, "Okay." Although he said so, Kuangyan was already ready to escape at this moment. At the same time, Tianchen World, Imperial Palace. From time to time, wailing sounds could be heard in Lu Qingkai's bedroom. "King Yun, you are so shameless, do the people in your sect know?" "Shut up! Hey, when I break through to the Great Emperor, I will go to your Yunhua Palace and show the image I recorded in the image stone to your palace master." "Shameless, hiss!" In the room, Lu Chen held Lu Qingkai's waist and was helping Lu Qingkai practice. However, the person controlling Lu Qingkai's body at this time was not Lu Qingkai, but Lu Qingyun, the main soul. Over the years, Lu Qingyun has manipulated Lu Qingkai's body and practiced with Lu Chen countless times. At the beginning, she would be more reserved, trying not to attract Lu Chen's attention, pretending to be Lu Qingkai. But as she was discovered by Lu Chen more and more times, she simply didn't bother to pretend anymore. "Hey, it feels so comfortable." As the round of practice ended, Lu Chen stopped and asked, "I have a question to ask you." Lu Qingyun lay weakly on the soft couch and ignored Lu Chen. At this time, she didn't think Lu Chen would ask her any serious questions. Lu Chen leaned down and put his chest against her jade back, and then asked in her ear, "Can your consciousness enter Qingkai's subworld?" At first, Lu Qingyun thought Lu Chen was going to say something to humiliate her, but she didn't expect it to be a serious question. Lu Qingyun has often manipulated Lu Qingkai's body over the years, so she naturally knows the subworld in Lu Qingkai's body, and she has entered the subworld more than once, but she has not asked Lu Chen about the subworld. Lu Qingyun took a breath and replied, "Yes. Although I have just been tortured a lot and don't want to pay attention to this piece of shit, this is a serious question and it is not impossible to respond to it." Lu Chen continued to ask, "Then you should also be able to control the way of heaven in the subworld, right?" Lu Qingyun cherished her words like gold and said coldly, "Okay." Lu Chen thought in his mind that even Lu Qingyun could control Lu Qingkai's subworld, so could Chu Yukin's main body also be able to control it? However, Chu Yukin's main body cut off the cause and effect with the secondary body. After cutting off the cause and effect, can the main body still affect the secondary body? End of chapter. Chapter 968. This time it should be foolproof. The reason why Lu Chen asked Lu Qingyun if his spiritual consciousness could enter Lu Qingkai's subworld was mainly because some strange things had happened in Chu Yukin's subworld recently. The laws of heaven in Chu Yuqinzi's world were inexplicably increased, and the cultivation speed of the monks in Chu Yuqinzi's world was greatly increased. The most important thing is that there are some strange rumors in the world of Chu Yuqinzi. There are rumors that their mother goddess is two people, one is in charge of life and the other is in charge of killing. Lu Chen specifically investigated the source of these rumors, but no one knew where this rumor came from. There had never been such rumors before, and suddenly such rumors appeared. Even the monks in the subworld did not know where the rumors came from. There was obviously something wrong. Lu Chen and Chu Yukin had direct communication with the heavenly way of the Zi world, and even the heavenly way of the Zi world didn't know why some heavenly laws were added. Tiandao has added Tiandao laws, but they don't know how these Tiandao laws came into being. It's as if Tiandao has also lost his memory. This makes both Lu Chen and Chu Yukin feel very puzzled. Lu Chen asked the system, and the system's answer was that Chu Yukin's subworld was affected by a mysterious force. As for what mysterious force it was, the system did not have a clear answer. Lu Chen has been thinking about the mysterious power that affects Chu Yukin's world these days. When he was working with Lu Qingyun just now, he suddenly thought that Chu Yukin had another body, and Chu Yukin's body controlled the Tianyan stone. This mysterious magic weapon, which can be called a mysterious power by the system, has a high probability to be related to the Tianyan stone. After hearing Lu Qingyun say that she could also enter Lu Qingkai's subworld, he became even more convinced that his guess was right. It's just that he didn't understand why Chu Yukin's main body had cut off the cause and effect with Chu Yukin, so he quietly entered Chu Yukin's subworld. Seeing that Lu Chen was deep in thought, Lu Qingyun knew it was time to leave, so she let go of her control over Lu Qingkai's body and let Lu Qingkai regain control of her body. After Lu Qingkai took control of his body and felt Lu Chen's heat, he twisted his body slightly and said, "Your Majesty, she is gone." Hearing this, Lu Chen came back to his senses. He knew that Lu Qingkai had regained control of his body. Oh, he ran pretty fast. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen changed his destination and returned to the right path. As long as Lu Chen realizes that Lu Qingyun is in control of Lu Qingkai's body, he will do evil things. But after Lu Qingkai regains control of his body, he will return to the right path. Anyway, Lu Qingkai has been abstinent for who knows how many years. Whether it is the right way or the evil way, it is the same, but when Lu Qingyun controls the body, he engages in evil ways to make Lu Chen's desire to conquer stronger. Qianyuan World. Lu Yanghua's territory, King Jin's mansion. Lu Yanghua was practicing in the training room. Suddenly a voice sounded outside the training room, "Your Highness, we brought the main body of Quan Jun. He said that he has completed the task." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua, who was practicing, opened his eyes instantly, and then he said, "Bring Quan Jun in." Yes. Soon, Kuang Yan, who was tied up with the immortal binding rope, was pushed into Lu Yanghua's training room. After Kuang Yan entered the training room, he quickly knelt on the ground and said, "Greetings to your Highness." Lu Yanghua looked at Kuang Yan with a smile and asked, "Commander Kuang Yan, how do I treat you?" Hearing this question, Kuang Yan suddenly felt a chill running down his spine. Kuang Yan had basically guessed what Lu Yanghua wanted to do next. Kuang Yan quickly kowtowed and said, "Your Highness, spare your life, Your Highness, please spare your life. I am willing to hand over my life essence and blood, and serve Your Highness forever." Lu Yanghua immediately walked up to Kuang Yan, squatted down slightly, held his shoulders with both hands and said, "Hey, Commander Kuang Yan, what are you talking about? You have made great achievements, how can I kill you?" Hearing Lu Yanghua's words, Kuang Yan was stunned for a moment. Could it be that he was overthinking? However, if Liu Yanghua didn't want to eliminate the root cause, then why did he send people to kidnap him? Just when Kuang Yan was puzzled, Liu Yanghua's hand suddenly slapped his head, and then a huge soul force rushed into Kuang Yan's brain. Kuang Yan suddenly woke up. He was thinking resisted, but it was too late. The next moment, Kuang Yan's memory flooded into Liu Yanghua's mind. Seeing the memory of Kuang Yan's clone, Liu Yanghua's face darkened instantly. He really thought Kuang Yan had completed his mission just now, but after searching the soul, he discovered that Kuang Yan hadn't even seen Tianchen world. Seeing that Kuang Yan had deceived him, Liu Yanghua became furious and kicked Kuang Yan's body away. Waste! What a waste! Seeing that Liu Yanghua was angry, Luo Yuan quickly knelt on the ground. Liu Yanghua got angry just after searching for the soul. Even a fool knew what was going on. After a while, Liu Yanghua calmed down. Liu Yanghua stood there without speaking, lost in thought. He was curious about how there could be a dynasty or even a saint in such a remote star field. I don't know if it is a real dynasty, but judging from Kuang Yan's memory, the saint definitely exists. Is it possible that I want to get rid of a waste and send a saint to Tianchen world? This is impossible. Now the other princes have completed the trial and have returned to the Xia dynasty one after another. I will send the saints out at this time, just in case those brothers take advantage of the fact that there are few strong people around me and send someone here. What to do if you assassinate yourself? At this critical moment, having a saint around would provide more protection, and he would definitely not send a saint out. After pondering for a while, Liu Yanghua's eyes fell on Luo Yuan. Luo Yuan was also at the 8th level of Gigzu realm. The key was that his life essence was in his hands. If Luo Yuan was sent, as long as he didn't encounter a saint-level strongman like Kuang Yan, it would be easy to get rid of Lu Chen. The most important thing now was that he couldn't be sure whether there was really an empire in that star field. Liu Yanghua suddenly thought of something, and then took out a token from the space ring, and then said to Luo Yuan, "Get up, take this token to Tianchen world, as for what to do, I believe you should know." Luo Yuan immediately stood up and looked at the Golden King order floating in front of him. Luo Yuan was slightly stunned. Liu Yanghua continued, "If you encounter some forces blocking you on the way, you can take out this token. I believe that as long as you are not a fool, you will not dare to block your way. There are not many dynasties in the universe who don't know the reputation of the Shenwu Emperor. As the son of the Shenwu Emperor, he is also treated as a guest of honor in various dynasties." Now Liu Yanghua gave the king's order to Luo Yuan. Seeing the king's order is like seeing Liu Yanghua. Liu Yanghua believes that even if there is really a dynasty in that remote star field, that dynasty will not dare to stop him after knowing that his people passed by. This time it should be foolproof. After Luo Yuan received the token in the air, he immediately bowed and said, "I promise to complete the task." Liu Yanghua reminded, "You have seen the end of Kuang Yan, don't let me down again. Go down." "Yes, Your Highness, I will take my leave." End of this chapter. Chapter 969. Is it because of the red sedan chair? Xia Dynasty, Imperial Palace. In the magnificent palace, a mature and plump woman wearing a red phoenix robe and a phoenix crown stood with her eyes closed in front of a stone emitting colorful light. After a moment, the woman opened her eyes, her eyebrows slightly wrinkled, and a trace of confusion appeared on her face. After thinking for a while, Chu Yunzi said to herself, "I have cut off the cause and effect, why am I still affected? Is it because of that red sedan?" As soon as the voice fell, Chu Yunzi's eyes immediately fell on a corner of the hall. In the corner, a red sedan was quietly suspended in the air, emitting a red halo, and the entire palace was reflected in red, which looked very festive. A few days ago, when she was practicing, this red sedan suddenly appeared. At that time, she thought that an enemy had broken into the palace, so she immediately attacked the red sedan and wanted to destroy it. However, as soon as she made a move, she found that her power was imprisoned. Later, her eyes went dark. When she woke up again, her consciousness entered Chu Yukin's sub-world. At first, she thought that she was pulled into an unknown world by the enemy, but a moment later, she found that the heaven of that world was actually integrated with her consciousness. She knew what happened in that world, and even knew how that world came to be. After realizing that the sub-world she was in was created by Lu Chen in her second body, her already cold heart was once again rippled. She originally thought that she would be able to forget Lu Chen from now on after cutting off the cause and effect of her second body, and she would no longer be affected by Lu Chen, but she did not expect that she would have an intersection with Lu Chen again in just a few years. In the past few days, her consciousness traveled in the sub-world. In order not to be discovered by Lu Chen, she deliberately used the Tianyan stone to hide the secret. In the sub-world, she also saw Lu Chen's consciousness, but Lu Chen did not find her, and she did not take the initiative to recognize Lu Chen, but just watched from a distance. At this moment, Chu Yunzi was using her spiritual power to try to control the red flower sedan. She was very curious about the red flower sedan. The power of the red flower sedan was very terrifying. She, who had the Tianyan stone, could also be forcibly pulled into other worlds by the red flower sedan. Obviously, the red flower sedan might be an extremely terrifying magic weapon. If she could control the red flower sedan, she would have more power, which might be of great help to her future plans. However, as soon as her spiritual power approached the red flower sedan, it was directly absorbed by the red flower sedan, and there was no reaction at all, just like a small stone thrown into the sea. And after her spiritual power came into contact with the red halo emitted by the red flower sedan, she could no longer continue to control it, as if her power was transformed into its power by the red flower sedan. Chu Yunzi stopped immediately and looked at the red flower sedan with a cold face. This thing was too weird. It could actually absorb her spiritual power directly and transform it into its own power. She had never encountered such a magic weapon before. Obviously, this magic weapon was not something she could control. Her spiritual power was directly absorbed. How could she use it to activate it? Just as Chu Yunzi was thinking about how to deal with this red flower sedan, suddenly, a special power appeared in Chu Yukin's subworld, and this power directly entered her body. Chu Yunzi was slightly stunned. This is the power of origin. Chu Yunzi closed her eyes again and felt the flow of this power of origin in her body. When the power of origin entered her sea of consciousness, her sea of consciousness began to expand wildly, her soul became stronger, and the spiritual power in her body was gushing out wildly. Then, she found that the power of chaos in her body began to overflow, and her chaotic spirit body became more and more mature. For a while, Chu Yunzi's face turned pale. She quickly suppressed her cultivation and prevented her body from continuing to break through. If the chaotic spirit body continued to grow, she would become the furnace of the Shenwu Emperor. Fortunately, that trace of original power was not much, and soon her cultivation stabilized. Seeing that her chaotic spirit body did not continue to grow, Chu Yunzi breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, she felt a little helpless. She cut off the cause and effect of the clone and the spiritual connection with the second body. On the one hand, she wanted to forget the man who made her suffer. On the other hand, after cutting off the cause and effect with the second body, her cultivation improvement speed and the growth rate of the chaotic spirit body would drop significantly. Unexpectedly, just because she entered the subworld of the second body, her cultivation level actually improved so much. If it continues like this, I am afraid she will break through to the quasi-emperor realm, and her chaotic spirit body will mature by then. This is not a good thing. What is going on in that subworld, and why does it produce original power? The reason why the great Emperor Shenwu took a fancy to her chaotic spirit body was the original power. The great Emperor Shenwu seemed to have mastered a method of power transformation. After the chaotic power was transformed, it could be condensed into the original power. As long as the chaos power in her body is absorbed, the Emperor Shenwu will be able to obtain the origin power. In order to obtain the origin power, the Emperor Shenwu is willing to wait for her chaos spirit body to mature. But now Chu Yunzi has easily obtained the origin power, which makes Chu Yunzi feel a little complicated. Chu Yunzi thought to herself, if the Emperor Shenwu knew that she had easily obtained the origin power, I wonder what he would think. After calming down, Chu Yunzi fell into deep thought again. At this moment, she didn't know how to deal with Chu Yukin's subworld. It stands to reason that Chu Yukin's subworld can give birth to the power of origin, which is of great help to her cultivation. After all, this is the supreme power of the universe. Even those emperors find it difficult to touch the power of origin. She should be happy. However, the power of origin will accelerate the improvement of her cultivation and make her chaotic spirit mature faster. Her layout has not been completed. If the Emperor Shenwu finds that her chaotic spirit is mature, she will soon become the cauldron of the Emperor Shenwu. Is it necessary to destroy this subworld? Unless she has a problem with her brain, she will do this. And she can clearly feel that the ownership of this subworld is not only in her hands. If she wants to destroy this subworld, she needs the consent of Chu Yukin and Lu Chen. She also has no ability to destroy this subworld. Chu Yunzi felt mixed emotions when she thought of Lu Chen. She had already made up her mind to forget him, but he returned to her world in this way. Is it necessary to kill Lu Chen to completely cut off the cause and effect? At this moment, the red halo emitted by the red sedan chair became thicker and thicker. Chu Yunzi immediately felt that her power was imprisoned again, and she seemed to have hallucinations in front of her. She seemed to see herself wearing a red veil, sitting on a red sedan chair, and marrying Lu Chen. End of this chapter. Chapter 970. Did you do all this? Looking at the illusion in front of her, Chu Yunzi wanted to use power to dispel it, but the power of the red sedan chair was terrifying. No matter how hard she struggled, the power in her body could not be mobilized. At this moment, she was no different from ordinary people. Gradually, she found that her vision seemed to overlap with that of the bride. Just now she was watching from the sidelines, but now it was as if she was experiencing it personally. Chu Yunzi tried to get rid of the illusion again, but no matter how hard she struggled, it was to no avail. She could only watch as she was sent to the bridal chamber. Seeing the scenes in front of her, Chu Yunzi's heart felt like a knife. She had spent countless nights imagining that this scene could happen, and that she could become Lu Chen's Taoist companion. But Lu Chen never responded. After she was found to have a chaotic spirit body, she approached Lu Chen and wanted to give her body to him, but Lu Chen still refused to accept her for the sake of cultivation. Until the day she was taken away, Lu Chen didn't even look at her. Finally, she was taken to the Shinayu Palace and has been imprisoned here ever since. While in the deep palace, her heart gradually became distorted. As much as she once loved Lu Chen, she would later hate Lu Chen. She originally thought that everything was over between her and Lu Chen, but now this red sedan chair once again reminded her of the painful memories of the past. When she thought of Lu Chen's cold-bloodedness, Chu Yunzi's inner hatred began to spread. In the palace, her body emitted thick black mist, and the black mist enveloped her whole body. But at this moment, the red light emitted from the red sedan chair shined brightly, and the strong light directly dissipated the black fog that enveloped Chu Yunzi. At this moment, Chu Yunzi's inner hatred for Lu Chen disappeared in an instant. In the illusion, Chu Yunzi watched Lu Chen gradually take off his clothes, and then the two figures gradually overlapped. In the fantasy, Lu Chen was extremely crazy, and she seemed to feel Lu Chen's passionate feelings. After an unknown amount of time, the illusion dissipated, but Chu Yunzi was still immersed in the illusion. When Chu Yunzi woke up again, the red sedan chair in the palace had disappeared. Chu Yunzi glanced at the corner where the red sedan was originally located, and felt a little confused. What kind of magic weapon was this red sedan chair, and whose magic weapon it was? Could it be that the owner of this red sedan brought the red sedan to her palace just to let her enter Chu Yukin's subworld and experience the fantasy just now? What's the point of doing this? But Chu Yunzi suddenly found that his body seemed to feel much lighter, as if something had disappeared from his body. As for what it was, Chu Yunzi didn't know. Chu Yunzi raised her phoenix robe and waved it, and the Tianyan stone in front of her disappeared. She slowly walked to the door of the palace, looked at the sky in the distance, and said to herself, "Did you do all this?" After Chu Yunzi finished speaking, he found that there were some red threads wrapped around his body at some point, and there were more and more of these red threads. To be precise, these red threads were originally wrapped around her body, but now they can be seen by her. Chu Yunzi was stunned. This was a marriage line. As a person who is entangled in the marriage line, Chu Yunzi knows very well who is on the other side of the marriage line. Chu Yunzi couldn't believe that on the other side of the marriage line was that cold-blooded and ruthless man. Why is there still a marriage line between her and Lu Chen? Lu Chen only had a marriage relationship with her second body, and she had cut off the cause and effect of the second body. Her second body already existed independently. How could these marriage lines appear in her main body? After a while, Chu Yunzi made a decision in her heart, and then she returned to the palace and took out the Tianyan stone again. Although she is not in Tianchen world, she can still affect everything in Tianchen world by using Tianyan stone. Great Xia Dynasty. Yanqinjim Imperial Palace. Chu Yukin was practicing on the soft couch. Suddenly, she felt a familiar force. Chu Yukin opened her eyes and looked at her bedroom in confusion. The palace was very quiet, and there were no maids at all. Chu Yukin felt a little confused. She didn't know why, but she always felt like she was being watched by someone. At this moment, the curtains of the palace swayed with the wind. Chu Yukin frowned slightly and immediately used her spiritual power to explore the entire palace, but still found nothing unusual, etc. Chu Yukin quickly realized that not only her bedroom, but also the outside of the bedroom was extremely quiet, and there was no one around. You must know that this is the Yanqinj Palace. There are many maids outside her palace, how could there be no one there? After sensing something was wrong, Chu Yukin became alert. She said tentatively, "Who is it? Come out." Although she was very wary in her heart, she also wondered if the bad guy was up to something else. After all, Lu Chen had a criminal record and liked to play role-playing, pretending to be a bad guy, and then suddenly knocking her down to retaliate. However, at this moment, a woman's voice echoed in the palace, "It seems that you are living a happy life now." Hearing this voice, Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment. This voice was too familiar to her. After coming back to her senses, Chu Yukin immediately stood up from the soft couch, and the pressure on her body could not help but emanate. As the secondary body, she knew very well how much Chu Yunzi hated Lu Chen, but what she didn't understand was why the main body came to her door again now that the main body had cut off the cause and effect. Chu Yukin asked expressionlessly, "What are you doing here?" Chu Yunzi said, "It seems that you care about him very much." Chu Yukin said coldly, "How much you loved him in the past, I care about him as much as I do. After all, I am a clone created by you." Chu Yukin suddenly thought of something, and then continued, "Did you cause the abnormality in the sub-world?" Although there is no clear evidence, Chu Yunzi came to the door just when the abnormality appeared in the sub-world, so there may be some connection between them. Seeing Chu Yukin guarding against herself so much, Chu Yunzi said, "You don't have to be so nervous, I will not take action against Lu Chen." Chu Yukin said lightly, "Do you think I will believe you?" As Chu Yunzi's second body, Chu Yukin knew how much Chu Yunzi hated Lu Chen in her heart. At this moment, Chu Yunzi made a questioning sound. What is this? Chu Yunzi suddenly discovered that the Tianchen world had deviated from the layout of the Tianyan stone, and the Tianchen world had become a high-level cultivation world with a very strong spiritual energy, almost catching up with the imperial capital of the Xia Dynasty. What's going on? How could a low-level world like Tianchen world, where even the laws were incomplete, become like this? Afterwards, Chu Yunzi used the Tianyan stone to read the development history of the entire Tianchen world. After feeling what happened in the Tianchen world, Chu Yunzi was completely stunned. Not only did the Tianchen world deviate from the layout of the Tianyan stone and undergo earth-shaking changes, but even Lu Chen's growth trajectory was completely separated from the Tianyan stone. Lu Chen is now a saint. How is this possible? End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 971, Old Love Rekindled. In order to avenge Lu Chen, Chu Yunzi used the Tianyan stone to plan Lu Chen's life trajectory. Logically, Lu Chen should be addicted to women and will never be able to leave the Tianchen world until he dies of old age. Now Lu Chen has become a saint and even founded a dynasty. You should know that among the sons of Emperor Shenyu, even Liu Yanghua, who passed the trial first, has not reached the saint level, but Lu Chen, who lies on women every day, is already a saint? The descendants of Emperor Shenyu have special blood. Logically, the more children Lu Chen has, the lower his luck and potential will be, and Lu Chen's hope of becoming an emperor will be slimmer. But now it seems that Lu Chen's descendants do not seem to have any share of Lu Chen's luck and blood power. How is this possible? How did he do it? Seeing that Chu Yunzi suddenly fell silent, Chu Yukan knew that Chu Yunzi had discovered the abnormality of the Tianchen world. Chu Yunzi recovered from her shock after a long while. It seems that his talent is really terrible. Chu Yukan asked directly, since you have chosen to cut off the cause and effect, why do you interfere in my life again? Chu Yukan thought that Chu Yunzi still wanted to take revenge on Lu Chen. After all, Chu Yunzi's heart was full of hatred for Lu Chen. The happier her second body is now, I am afraid that her main body will hate Lu Chen as much as she does. After all, the happy life she and Lu Chen have now is the life that Chu Yunzi, the main body, has imagined countless times before. It's a pity that Chu Yunzi didn't become Lu Chen's woman. Now she can only be imprisoned in the palace of the Xia Dynasty, watching her second body get the life she once dreamed of. At this time, Chu Yukan was very worried that Chu Yunzi would bring trouble to Lu Chen. The Great Xia Dynasty was founded not long ago. If it attracted the attention of other dynasties, the Great Xia Dynasty would inevitably suffer a catastrophe. The dynasties in this universe all have dynasty luck, which can help the emperor practice and also help the emperor obtain the power of chaos. If some emperors found out that the Great Xia Dynasty was just a weak dynasty, they would probably come to destroy it and rob it of its imperial luck. For Chu Yunzi, it was easy to take revenge on Lu Chen. She only needed to spread the news about the Great Xia Dynasty, and some dynasties would come knocking on her door. Seeing Chu Yukan so alert, Chu Yunzi said lightly, "Are you worried that I will spread the news about the Great Xia Dynasty?" Chu Yukan said, "Based on my understanding of you, you will definitely do so." As soon as Chu Yukan finished speaking, Chu Yunzi sneered, "If it was before, I might have done so." Chu Yukan was slightly stunned. Chu Yunzi would have done so before, but what about now? Wouldn't she do so now? Could Chu Yunzi let go of this love-hate relationship in her heart? Chu Yukan didn't think so. If Chu Yunzi could really let go, how could she come to her door again after severing the cause and effect with her second body? She came to me now, probably because she couldn't forgive Lu Chen, so she wanted to see him fall into ruin. Chu Yunzi continued, "A few days ago, a red sedan chair appeared in my bedroom. Perhaps it was influenced by that red sedan chair that my resentment towards Lu Chen has dissipated." Chu Yukan was stunned again. Red sedan chair? Many of Lu Chen's wives and concubines were related to the red sedan chair, so she had some knowledge of it. Lu Chen also said in front of her that the red sedan chair had a special connection with him. Before Chu Yukin came to her senses, Chu Yunzi continued, after the red sedan disappeared, circles of marriage lines appeared on my body, and the other end of the marriage line was Lu Chen. Chu Yukin came to her senses, and a trace of confusion appeared on her face. What do you want to say? Since you can cut off the cause and effect, you can also cut off the marriage line. I believe that it will not be difficult to do this with your strength. After all, the Tianyan stone is in your hand. Chu Yunzi asked, why do I want to cut off the marriage line? Faced with this question, Chu Yukin fell silent. Chu Yunzi once loved Lu Chen to death and wanted to dedicate everything to Lu Chen, but Lu Chen ruthlessly rejected her again and again. At that time, she could not see a glimmer of hope. Now there is a marriage line between them, which means that sooner or later they will be together, and sooner or later she will become Lu Chen's woman. Chu Yukin suddenly thought of 4 words in her heart, old love rekindled. Could it be that the main body saw that his secondary body and Lu Chen were living so happily together, so he also wanted to get involved and become Lu Chen's woman? Chu Yukin asked directly, what is the purpose of this? Chu Yunzi said, although this palace has cut off the cause and effect, this palace's consciousness can still enter your subworld. This palace plans to re-establish the consciousness connection through your subworld. Chu Yukin chuckled, do you think I will agree? If she establishes a consciousness connection with Chu Yunzi, then Chu Yunzi is likely to control her body again. No one knows whether Chu Yunzi really wants to become Lu Chen's woman. What if Chu Yunzi still has the idea of revenge on Lu Chen in her heart? Chu Yunzi also understood what Chu Yukin was worried about, so she said, even if you don't want to, this palace can re-establish the consciousness connection, it's nothing more than spending more time. If the cause and effect between us has really been completely cut off, do you think this palace can still enter your subworld? Hearing Chu Yunzi's words, Chu Yukin suddenly woke up and frowned. Yes, if the cause and effect between them had been completely cut off, Chu Yunzi would not be able to enter her subworld, nor could she affect the subworld. Chu Yunzi's ability to enter her subworld means that the cause and effect between them is still there, but they can't see it. Chu Yunzi only cut off the surface cause and effect. If the cause and effect is still there, it is not impossible for Chu Yunzi to regain control of her secondary body. Chu Yunzi continued, even if the cause and effect is cut off, your soul still comes from me. As the main body, I can also merge your soul. You should know that I have the Tianyan stone in my hand. As long as I activate the Tianyan stone, it is not difficult to merge your soul. The Tianyan stone can instantly construct a world and pull Chu Yunzi and Chu Yukin into this world at the same time regardless of the spatial distance. Although the creation of the world by the Tianyan stone consumes a lot of soul power, with Chu Yunzi's current strength, the world built by the Tianyan stone will not last too long, but the fusion of Chu Yunzi and Chu Yukin does not take much time. Chu Yukin fell into silence. She knew that the power of the Tianyan stone was terrifying. If she did not do what Chu Yunzi said, it was very likely that Chu Yunzi would really activate the Tianyan stone. After a long silence, Chu Yukin said, you used the Tianyan stone to destroy Lu Chen's trial road and hurt Lu Chen. Do you think you can return to his side again? End of this chapter. Chapter 972 I will help you practice. Even though Chu Yunzi was the main body, Chu Yukin couldn't understand what she did, and she didn't think Lu Chen would forgive Chu Yunzi. It was Chu Yunzi who used the Tianyan stone to retaliate against Lu Chen, and it was Chu Yunzi who cut off the cause and effect. Now Chu Yunzi actually wants to return to Lu Chen. Chu Yukin was even a little worried that if Lu Chen knew that she and Chu Yunzi still existed, he would feel some hatred towards her. Chu Yunzi said coldly, whether you can return to him or not is not up to you. As long as the marriage line between me and him is still there, sooner or later I will become his woman. Search Chen on Google. Chu Yukan had to admire Chu Yunzi for being unusually thick-skinned. But having said that, Chu Yunzi was already such a person. When Lu Chen was still in the Xia Dynasty in his previous life, Chu Yunzi had been stalking Lu Chen. If it hadn't been for the fact that Emperor Shenwu later discovered that she had a chaotic spirit body and imprisoned her in the Shenyu Emperor's capital as his queen, I'm afraid she would still be hanging around Lu Chen. In this way, she was indeed still pestering Lu Chen. Chu Yukan thought that she was sent to Lu Chen by Chu Yunzi. She was Chu Yunzi's second body. If she pestered Lu Chen, didn't it mean that she was? Is Chu Yunzi still pestering Lu Chen? In the past, Chu Yunzi felt that there was no hope and hated her because of love. Now that Chu Yunzi saw the threat of marriage, she suddenly had hope again and naturally she was unwilling to give up. Chu Yukan continued, I need to ask Lu Chen about this. Chu Yunzi said, there is no need to tell him. Chu Yukan said, I'm not sure if you really want to return to him. What if you take control of my body and do something to hurt Lu Chen? Chu Yunzi said, the cause and effect that gave you life has been cut off by me. Even if my consciousness can enter your body, it will no longer be able to control your body unless I completely devour your soul. If I really want to completely integrate with you, I can just activate the Tianyan stone to pull you into the same world. I won't tell you this. Chu Yukan thought for a while and asked, what exactly do you want to do? Since Chu Yunzi knew that he could no longer control his secondary body by building a connection with his spiritual consciousness, what was the point of building a connection with his spiritual consciousness? At this time, Chu Yunzi said, after the connection with the spiritual consciousness is completed, I can tell you a conspiracy of Emperor Shenwu. You probably don't want to see Lu Chen become the body of Emperor Shenwu, right? Chu Yukan's mind was stunned. The body of Emperor Shenwu? What's the meaning? Chu Yukan seemed to realize something, and then said, okay, I promise you. Although as a secondary body, she only had part of Chu Yunzi's memories, she could also see some clues from those memories. Coupled with the words Chu Yunzi added about taking the body, Chu Yukan instantly realized that there was something wrong with Lu Chen and the others' trial. After Chu Yukan finished speaking, Chu Yunzi and Chu Yukan's consciousnesses entered the sub-world. As soon as their consciousnesses entered the sub-world, they found that their consciousnesses were already connected. Chu Yunzi didn't even need to do anything. The moment his consciousness connected, Chu Yukan's memories poured into Chu Yunzi's brain. Seeing those memories of Chu Yukan, Chu Yunzi felt a surge of sadness in his heart. She saw that Lu Chen not only did not resent Chu Yukan because of what she, the main body, had done, but instead doted on Chu Yukan to the heavens. When she thought of retaliating against Lu Chen because of love and hatred, Chu Yunzi felt extremely guilty. Maybe she would never be able to make up for the mistakes she had made in her lifetime. At this moment, Lu Chen's voice suddenly sounded outside Chu Yukan's bedroom. Hey? What is this? After feeling the movement outside, the two women's consciousness instantly left the sub-world, and Chu Yunzi also immediately removed the barrier created by Tianyan stone. After her consciousness returned to her body, Chu Yukan discovered that Chu Yunzi did not control her body. This made Chu Yukan slightly relieved. Their current state was similar to that of two souls in one body. After coming back to her senses, Chu Yukan sorted out her emotions, and then said, Chener, are you okay? At this time, Lu Chen, who was outside the door, saw that the barrier just disappeared and opened the door directly to enter the palace. He had previously used disapparition to enter Chu Yukan's dormitory directly, but ended up disapparating to the door, only to be blocked by a mysterious force. It had been a long time since he had walked through the front door. Going anywhere was always a matter of thought. Today was the first time he pushed open the door and entered in the past few years. After entering Chu Yukan's bedroom, Lu Chen took a look at Chu Yukan who was standing in the middle of the hall. Chu Yukan was wearing a turquoise long dress, with a plump figure. The long dress tightly wrapped her body, making it easy for people to think about it. Her hair was tied in a woman's bun, and a strand of blue silk lay in front of her shoulders. She exuded a dignified and noble aura. Lu Chen asked curiously, "Aunt Chu, what was that thing just now? It was even able to stop me." If it was a normal barrier, Lu Chen could pass through it directly as long as he was in the Tianchen world, but he was actually stopped just now, which made Lu Chen very puzzled. Chu Yukin said, "This is a special barrier I found from the main body's memory. I just tried it. By the way, what do you want from me?" Lu Chen looked at Chu Yukin suspiciously. Something is wrong, very wrong. They knew each other well, and Chu Yukin's reaction was obviously problematic. Since Lu Chen had eaten Chu Yukin up, Lu Chen rarely saw Chu Yukin so nervous in front of him. Lu Chen glanced at the bedroom, then smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, you are not hiding someone in the bedroom, seeing me so nervous." Chu Yukin looked at Lu Chen dimly, then said, "Why would I hide someone? You are a saint, and the entire Tianchen world is under your control. If I were hiding someone, you would have discovered it long ago." Lu Chen smiled, walked to Chu Yukin, directly hugged her waist, and then walked towards the soft couch, saying as he walked, Okay, I was kidding you. I haven't been here for a long time, I'm here to help you practice." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yunzi's emotions were instantly mobilized. She read Chu Yukin's memory and naturally knew what Lu Chen was talking about. She read the joy of cultivation from Chu Yukin's memory, but she couldn't experience it in person in the past. Now her consciousness is connected with Chu Yukin's soul again, and Chu Yukin's body feelings will be transmitted to her main soul. Feeling Lu Chen's big hand on Chu Yukin's waist and stroking it gently, Chu Yunzi suddenly felt itchy in her heart. After Lu Chen embraced Chu Yukin and came to the soft couch, he immediately laid her on the couch, then pressed on her and kissed her red lips. Lu Chen's movements were very skillful. After all, he had done it countless times, but it was the first time that Chu Yunzi felt the restless feeling from Chu Yukin. Although Chu Yunzi did not directly control Chu Yukin's body, because of the existence of Chu Yunzi's consciousness, Chu Yukin's body could not help but have some weak abnormal reactions. End of this chapter. Requesting leave. Take a day off, adjust your day off. End of this chapter. Chapter 973 Lu Chen and number 039, S Revenge. Lu Chen knew Chu Yukin too well. Although Chu Yukin's abnormal reaction was very weak, Lu Chen still noticed it. Chu Yukin was very nervous today. He just touched her body and her body trembled involuntarily. They are already an old couple. Every time they do something, Chu Yukin will even take the initiative to stimulate Lu Chen. Why is she so shy? Lu Chen even suspected that Chu Yukin in front of him was pretended by someone else. Just after Lu Chen and Chu Yukin entered an intimate state, Lu Chen still used the system to identify Chu Yukin's identity information. Name, Chu Yukin, Chu Yunzi. Identity, wife and concubine of the Emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty. The second body is the first level of Gigzu realm, the main body is the queen of the Shanyu dynasty. Under the influence of the mysterious red sedan chair, the demon barrier left by the Emperor Shenyu on Chu Yunzi was cleared, and Chu Yunzi's suppressed emotions were stimulated again. In order to get close to the host, Chu Yunzi's consciousness entered Chu Yukin's body again. Rating, 100. Favorability, 100. Seeing Chu Yukin's information, Lu Chen was slightly stunned. He said why Chu Yukin was a little strange today. It turned out that Chu Yukin's main body occupied Chu Yukin's body. When he thought of Chu Yunzi who had caused trouble for him, the fire in Lu Chen's heart grew wildly. Although Chu Yunzi's revenge did not achieve the effect of preventing him from becoming stronger, Chu Yunzi did so subjectively after all. But then again, judging from the system information, the reason why Chu Yunzi targeted him was because of what the Emperor Shenyu did to her? Demonic barrier? What is a demonic barrier? Just as Lu Chen was thinking, the system sounded. The demonic barrier is a curse that can amplify the negative emotions in the heart. After hearing the system's explanation, Lu Chen reacted instantly. So, the reason why Chu Yunzi turned from love to hate and targeted him was because of the demonic barrier left by the Emperor Shenyu? Why did the Emperor Shenyu do this? This seems not difficult to understand. When Emperor Shenyu listed Chu Yunzi as the queen, he must have known that Chu Yunzi liked his son. In order to make Chu Yunzi give up, he simply cursed Chu Yunzi and made Chu Yunzi hate him out of love. It must be said that this red flower sedan is really powerful. It can even remove the curse of Emperor Shenyu. It seems that the abnormality of Chu Yukin's subworld is caused by Chu Yunzi. He came to Chu Yukin today to ask about the situation of the subworld and the reason for the abnormality of the subworld. Now it seems that he doesn't need to continue to look for the reason. But then again, Chu Yunzi has cut off the cause and effect with Chu Yukin. How did her consciousness enter Chu Yukin's subworld? Forget it, don't think too much. He doesn't want to think too much about things involving the red flower sedan now. After all, the red flower sedan is related to the system, and he can't get in touch with the deep secrets of the system now. At this moment, seeing that Lu Chen had not made any move, Chu Yunzi felt puzzled. She knew from Chu Yukin's memory that Lu Chen was a very anxious person. How could he bear it at this moment? However, in order not to expose her existence, Chu Yunzi did not interfere with Chu Yukin. Now Chu Yukin's body was still controlled by Chu Yukin. She just had to wait for Chu Yukin to react. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly became fierce. Before Chu Yunzi could react, a huge impact made her whole spirit scattered. Chu Yukin did not care too much. She knew that Lu Chen was fierce, but after all, Chu Yunzi was exposed to such things for the first time. Moreover, after Chu Yunzi's consciousness connected with Chu Yukin, the two felt the same, which made Chu Yunzi unable to hold on soon. Because Chu Yunzi's consciousness was in Chu Yukin's body, it also had a certain impact on Chu Yukin's body. This made Chu Yukin's wailing sound particularly loud today. When Lu Chenjiu thought of this vicious woman Chu Yunzi being ravaged by him, he became more excited and began to increase her strength. He had planned to teach Chu Yunzi a lesson a long time ago. He thought that he would not be able to contact Chu Yunzi for tens of thousands of years. After all, Chu Yunzi was still the queen of the Shenyu Emperor. If he wanted to ravage Chu Yunzi, he had to defeat the Shenyu Emperor. The Shenyu Emperor was not an ordinary emperor. It was not easy to defeat him. As a result, Chu Yunzi actually took the initiative to deliver herself to the door. Although Chu Yunzi's main body was not here now, her consciousness was already connected to Chu Yukin. To ravage Chu Yukin was equivalent to ravaging Chu Yunzi. At first, Chu Yukin didn't know Lu Chen's idea. She just thought that Lu Chen was the same as before. In order to enter the cultivation state as soon as possible, he would be so fierce right from the start. But soon Chu Yukin realized something was wrong. If it was before, Lu Chen would give her some rest time no matter what, but today Lu Chen didn't give her any chance to breathe. At this time, Lu Chen turned her over. Chu Yukin looked up at Lu Chen's eyes and found that Lu Chen's eyes were red, as if he was possessed. Chu Yukin was stunned. Could Lu Chen be possessed? Thinking of this, Chu Yukin hurriedly said, "Who? Husband? What's wrong with you?" Lu Chen ignored Chu Yukin's words and continued to do his own thing. Chu Yukin had no choice but to let Lu Chen continue to do evil. When Lu Chen thought of Chu Yunzi howling and begging for mercy in front of him, he felt particularly comfortable. At this time, Chu Yukin still thought that Lu Chen might have gone astray in his cultivation. She thought that maybe after Lu Chen released all his negative emotions, he would calm down soon, so she did nothing else except cooperating with Lu Chen. Although Lu Chen was very fierce, Chu Yukin had experienced this kind of high-intensity cultivation a long time ago. Now it was not her who was the most uncomfortable, but her main body. She could clearly feel that the main body's consciousness had been somewhat scattered, and even affected her own body. Chu Yukin's heart skipped a beat at this time. Could it be that Lu Chen discovered that her main body's consciousness had entered her body, so he was so fierce today? Chu Yukin was worried when she thought of what Lu Qingqiu had said to her recently. She heard Lu Qingqiu say that Lu Qingyun had been attached to her from time to time recently, and then Lu Chen was particularly excited, treating her as Lu Qingyun, not only ravaging her in various ways, but also doing evil things, and not treating her as a human being at all. Lu Chen's current state, isn't it just as Lu Qingqiu said? With the various mysterious abilities that Lu Chen showed, he might indeed discover the existence of other spiritual consciousness in her body. Chu Yukin became nervous when she thought that Chu Yunzi might be discovered by Lu Chen. What she was most worried about was that Lu Chen would be angry with her because of the existence of the main body. This is trouble. Chu Yukin was extremely nervous and panicked. In this state, Chu Yukin's body became more and more sensitive, and her whole body was tense. Lu Chen also clearly noticed the panic in Chu Yukin's heart, but he still did not choose to stop, nor did he speak, but just kept busy with his own things. End of this chapter. Chapter 974, Not wanting him to become stronger, but protecting him instead? Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. During these 2 months, Lu Chen had hardly stopped. If it was before, Lu Chen would practice for a period of time, and then stop to rest for a period of time, but in these 2 months, Lu Chen had been in a close state with Chu Yukin. At this time, Chu Yunzi's main body, because of the connection between her consciousness and Chu Yukin, her whole body collapsed on the soft couch. Although she read Lu Chen's terrifying ability from Chu Yukin's memory, she did not expect that feeling to be so strong. Several times she wanted to cut off the connection with Chu Yukin's consciousness and then regain consciousness. But for some reason, that feeling made her particularly fascinated. Although she was already distracted, she still couldn't bear to directly connect with Chu Yukin's consciousness. In one sentence, this is painful and happy. In the early morning, a ray of sunlight stood in the room, shining on the soft couch and on people's bodies. The sunlight was reflected after contacting the sweat beads, and the bodies of the 2 people in the room looked white. At this time, the whole palace had become quiet. Chu Yukin lay on Lu Chen's chest like a little woman. She didn't know what to do next. Judging from Lu Chen's behavior in the past 2 months, Lu Chen might have really known that Chu Yunzi's consciousness had entered her body again, otherwise Lu Chen would not be so fierce. This was obviously Lu Chen's revenge on Chu Yunzi. Lu Chen had said at the beginning that if one day he caught her main body, he would imprison her main body and then ravage it every day as revenge. At this time, Chu Yukin asked Chu Yunzi in her heart, "Tell me, what exactly is the matter with the possession you mentioned?" Chu Yunzi has not recovered yet. After hearing Chu Yukin's question, Chu Yunzi became more sober. Chu Yunzi felt very uncomfortable when she thought of her predicament being shown in front of her second body. Although the second body was also created by herself, she had cut off the cause and effect. The second body is now independent and can be regarded as another person. Chu Yunzi was more or less unable to accept being seen by another person howling like a ghost, but she quickly calmed down her inner emotions. This was the first time, and she would use Chu Yukin's body to experience that feeling in the future. She would let herself be seen, anyway, it was her secondary body, and even if the soul of the secondary body was cut off, it was separated from her main soul, so there was no shame. At this time, Chu Yunzi did not say much to Chu Yukin. She directly transmitted part of her memory to Chu Yukin, and Chu Yukin instantly understood what Chu Yunzi said about taking over the body. It turned out that when Chu Yunzi was using the Tianyan stone, she saw some things about the Emperor Shenyu. The reason why the Emperor Shenyu let his children go out for training was mainly because the Emperor Shenyu was affected by his own bloodline, and the deadline was approaching. In order to improve his own bloodline, the Emperor Shenyu planned to take over the body of his children, and letting them go out for training was to select the best object for taking over the body. In theory, the length of the emperor's life has nothing to do with the body, but is mainly affected by the soul. If the soul is immortal, the emperor will not die. But even the emperor's soul will be eroded by time and gradually die. But the Emperor Shenyu seems to have obtained some special skills. As long as he absorbs the soul of his child and takes over the body of his child, he can repair the eroded soul and avoid the erosion of time. Although Chu Yunzi doesn't know why the Emperor Shenyu can do this, since the Emperor Shenyu is already preparing to take over the body, it means that the method of the Emperor Shenyu should be useful. Moreover, the Emperor Shenyu has not broken her body. It seems that it is not only because the chaotic spirit body is not mature, but also because the Emperor Shenyu wants the body to obtain the power of the chaotic spirit body. The Emperor Shenyu has not taken over the body yet, so he will not touch her. Of course, this reason is Chu Yunzi's guess. After all, the Emperor Shenyu is planning to take over his child and be reborn, and the original body will be abandoned. There is no need to absorb the power of chaos at this time. If she could absorb the power of chaos immediately after possessing the body, she would not only be able to stabilize the power in the possessed body, but also make the possessed body quickly stronger, so letting the possessed body break her body would be the best choice. Chu Yukin was puzzled as to why the Tianyan stone would tell Chu Yunzi the secret of the Emperor Shenyu. Isn't the Tianyan stone the magic weapon of the Emperor Shenyu? If the Emperor Shenyu knew that the Tianyan stone would expose his secret, he would not lend the Tianyan stone to anyone casually, or did the Emperor Shenyu think that it didn't matter even if he told Chu Yunzi about it? Seeing Chu Yukin lost in thought, Chu Yunzi continued, now Lu Chen has broken through to the realm of saints, and he is not affected by the bloodline of the Emperor Shenyu. Marrying a wife and having children has not affected his cultivation. For the Emperor Shenyu, he is the best person to possess. If the Emperor Shenyu knew that Lu Chen had become a saint, he would definitely possess him in the end. Hearing Chu Yunzi's words, Chu Yukin chuckled, so, you took revenge on Chener, not wanting him to become stronger, but protecting him instead. Chu Yunzi said lightly, although I did want to take revenge on him, the result of the revenge is indeed a good thing for him. Even if his time has come and he dies in the Tianchen world, under the influence of the power of the Tianyan stone, his soul will be reincarnated again and continue to live in the Tianchen world, and will not be possessed by the Shenyu Emperor. It is precisely because Lu Chen married and had children that the Shenyu Emperor has completely given up on Lu Chen, and now even the observers of the Tianchen world have withdrawn. Chu Yukin didn't know what to say. The main body's actions were equivalent to helping Lu Chen by accident. Just when Chu Yukin was distracted, Lu Chen gently stroked Chu Yukin's jade back and said, "My wife, what are you thinking about?" Chu Yukin came back to her senses and said in a resentful tone, "My husband, did I make you angry in some way?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "No." Chu Yukin continued to ask, "Why are you so fierce recently?" Lu Chen replied, "Who made my wife more and more beautiful? You know me well. I can't stand any stimulation." Lu Chen did not intend to expose Chu Yukin. If he exposed her in advance, it is very likely that Chu Yunzi would not come in the future. Lu Chen thought about pretending to know nothing. As long as Chu Yunzi came once, he would mess with her once. He wanted to turn her into his plaything completely and make her inseparable from him forever. Chu Yukin didn't believe what Lu Chen said. She always felt that Lu Chen had already found out, but just pretended not to know. However, since Lu Chen chose to pretend not to know, she would not take the initiative to bring it up for the time being. She also understood that this was actually a good thing for Lu Chen. After all, this was Lu Chen's way of revenge against Chu Yunzi. She might have to suffer a little, but this little suffering was nothing to her. End of this chapter. Chapter 975. So, who should we choose next? After the battle, Lu Chen did not leave quickly. While caressing Chu Yukin's body with his paws, he said, "By the way, please pay more attention to the abnormalities in the sub-world. I always feel that something will happen in the sub-world. Kind of variation." Chu Yukin said, "Okay, if there are any abnormal changes next time, I will tell you immediately." At this time, Lu Chen suddenly sighed and said, "I have to say that the talents of the creatures coming out of the sub-world are really not very high. Several of them have already broken through to the realm of transformation into gods. According to their cultivation speed, I am afraid it will take less than 200 years. There are people who can break through to the return to ruins realm." Chu Yu laid his head on Lu Chen's chest and said softly, "Didn't you say that the creatures in the sub-world are all our children? As a father god like you, it's not surprising that they are so talented in cultivation." Lu Chen put his arms around Chu Yukin's body, then kissed Chu Yukin's forehead gently and said, "That's right, I'm so good, so naturally our child won't be too bad." Taiwan Novel Network. Having said this, Lu Chen pointedly patted Chu Yukin's buttocks, and Chu Yukin said quietly, "That's not serious." Chu Yukin asked at this time, "By the way, when do you plan to expand?" After learning from Chu Yunzi that Emperor Shenyu wanted to take away his child, Chu Yukin was worried that Lu Chen would be noticed by Emperor Shenyu because of his premature expansion. Now Lu Chen has been completely given up by Emperor Shenyu. If Lu Chen leads the Great Xia Dynasty to continue to expand, and Emperor Shenyu comes to know that Lu Chen is already a saint, then Emperor Shenyu will most likely choose Lu Chen as his target. Now that Lu Chen's cultivation has improved so quickly, it may take less than 1,000 years, and it may even take less than 500 years to achieve enlightenment and become an emperor. For cultivators, especially for a saint like Lu Chen, 1,000 years is not a long time. Therefore, in Chu Yukin's opinion, it is the best choice for Lu Chen to stay in a corner and practice hard before there is no emperor. When Lu Chen becomes the great emperor in the future, even if Emperor Shenyu discovers him, it will not be so easy for him to seize Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled and asked, "Why did you suddenly think of asking this question?" Chu Yukin raised her head, looked into Lu Chen's eyes and said, "Maybe it's because of my improvement in cultivation that I suddenly remembered some memories of my main body in the past few days." Although Chu Yukin didn't plan to tell Chu Yunzi's consciousness that she was connected to her, she still planned to remind Lu Chen about Emperor Shenyu. This kind of thing had to be guarded against. Chu Yukin didn't want to see Lu Chen get hurt. She even wanted to persuade Lu Chen to leave Tianchen world directly to avoid being found by Emperor Shenyu. Hearing Chu Yukin's words, Lu Chen pretended to be curious and asked, "Oh? What memory?" Chu Yukin said, "The reason why your father sent the princes out for training seems to have some ulterior conspiracy. I suspect he is looking for someone to seize the body." Lu Chen smiled slightly, and he immediately guessed that this was what Chu Yunzi told Chu Yukin. Chu Yunzi wanted to use Chu Yukin's mouth to remind him to be careful of Emperor Shenyu. It has to be said that the influence of the red sedan chair is really great. Chu Yunzi, who originally hated himself to the core, not only has no resentment towards himself after being so suppressed by him, but now he chooses to tell himself about this matter. Then Lu Chen said, "Thank you, madam, for reminding me. I have already guessed something, but I still can't believe that he would do such a thing. But now that I think about it, he could kill all his sons so that we could be reincarnated. There seems to be nothing he can't do." Seeing that Lu Chen was already on guard, Chu Yukin felt relieved. Chu Yukin continued, "Tianchen world is your place of trial. If you continue to stay here, you might be discovered by your father. Have you ever thought about leaving Tianchen world and going to other star regions?" Lu Chen said calmly, "It's not necessary. There is a blood connection between us. If he wants to find me, he only needs a thought." This. Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment. What Lu Chen said was right. With the strength of Emperor Shen Yu and the induction of the power of blood, even if Lu Chen hid far away, as long as Lu Chen was still in this universe, it would be possible. Found out by Emperor Shen Yu. Lu Chen saw a look of worry on Chu Yukin's face. He raised his hand and gently fiddled with the messy green hair on her face. Okay, you don't have to worry too much. I have strong people protecting me. It's okay even if he finds out. Chu Yukin realized that, yes, Lu Chen seemed to have an emperor-level protector beside him. Although Emperor Shen Yu was very powerful, Emperor Shen Yu seemed to have been injured in his early years, and as his end was approaching, his strength must have declined. As long as the emperor beside Lu Chen keeps guarding Lu Chen, even if Emperor Shen Yu wants to seize Lu Chen, it will not be an easy task. Chu Yukin no longer continued to be anxious. It was useless to be anxious now. She just needed to live every day with Lu Chen well. At this time, Chu Yukin put her arms on the soft couch and tried to get up. After practicing with Lu Chen for 2 months, it was time to give up her position. However, before Chu Yukin could pull away, Lu Chen's big hands grabbed her waist. Chu Yukin's body was held down tightly. Chu Yukin raised her head and looked into Lu Chen's eyes and said, 12 years old in 1 year. Month, you have been here with me for more than 2 months. It's time to go hang out with other sisters. If you continue to stay, they will be unhappy. Lu Chen smiled slightly, it's okay, they won't mind. Seeing that Lu Chen didn't let her go, Chu Yukin could only look at Lu Chen's eyes with resentment. She knew that Lu Chen wanted to continue to retaliate against Chu Yunzi. At this moment, Lu Chen hugged the beautiful woman's body again and turned over, pressing Chu Yukin under him. Shanyu Palace. Sky City, the bedroom of Emperor Shen Yu. In the emperor's bedroom, golden runes were everywhere, and avenues were circling around the bedroom. Emperor Shen Yu stood in front of a large cauldron burning with purple flames. There were some cracks on the cauldron, and it looked like it would break at any time. Emperor Shen Yu said to himself, the catastrophe is coming, and I should prepare. If the turning technique can succeed, maybe I will have a chance to break the shackles and become the Emperor of Heaven. At that time, I can go outside the domain and don't have to worry about the cosmic catastrophe. Just as Emperor Shen Yu was staring at the purple cauldron in a daze, a person's voice appeared in the palace. Your Majesty, except for the 9th prince, all the princes have completed the trial and returned to the imperial capital. After hearing the report from his subordinates, the Emperor Shen Yu said expressionlessly, pass on my order and tell all the princes that I will provide them with all the cultivation resources they need. Whoever can break through to the quasi-emperor realm within 1,000 years will be the next ruler of the dynasty. Yes, Your Majesty. After the voice fell, the man turned and left. At this time, the Emperor Shen Yu waved his hand, and the trial images of all the princes except Lu Chen appeared in front of him. So, who should be chosen next? End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.